Welcome to another spine-chilling journey through the haunted corners of Virginia. In this video, we explore 25 museums in the state where dark energy, ghostly apparitions, and inexplicable phenomena create a truly eerie atmosphere, from historic estates turned museums to battlefields preserved as exhibits. Virginia's haunted museums have stories that will leave you questioning what is real and what lurks beyond the veil. The Abby Aldrich Rockefeller Folk Art Museum in Williamsburg, Virginia, stands as a testament to the rich cultural history of American folk art. Visitors are drawn to its remarkable collection, which spans centuries and showcases the creativity of countless artists. Yet, beyond the beauty of its exhibits, there exists a layer of the museum that is less easily explained, a series of ghostly occurrences that have puzzled staff and guests alike. From the moment one steps inside, there is an undeniable sense of history lingering in the air. While the museum itself is meticulously maintained and bustling during the day, many of the strange incidents occur after hours, when the halls are silent and the displays are illuminated only by dim, protective lighting. Staff members have reported fleeting shadows slipping between the rooms, moving in ways that suggest a human form but vanish when approached. These shadows have been seen near exhibits, ranging from delicate carved figurines to vibrant painted panels, giving the impression that something or someone still cares deeply for the artworks housed within the museum. Whispers are another common phenomenon. Employees working late into the evening have described hearing murmured conversations in rooms where they are completely alone. Sometimes, these whispers seem to echo off the walls as if carried on an unseen current, almost like faint voices trying to communicate or offer guidance. One security guard, who had patrolled the museum for years, recounted an occasion when he distinctly heard a low, urgent voice near the entrance of a gallery, even though the doors were locked and there was no one else in the building. The sound was so clear that he felt compelled to pause and listen, only for it to dissipate as mysteriously as it had appeared. Several visitors have also shared unsettling experiences. A small group touring the museum in the late afternoon claimed that they saw a figure, dressed in what appeared to be early 20th century attire, quietly observing a folk painting before disappearing behind a display case. Others have felt a sudden chill while standing in front of certain exhibits, a coldness that seems out of place in the otherwise climate-controlled environment. In some cases, the presence has been described as protective, almost like a guardian spirit, ensuring the preservation of the museum's treasured pieces. Many speculate that these manifestations may be linked to the museum's history and the people who devoted their lives to it. One figure often mentioned in accounts is a former caretaker who spent decades overseeing the museum's collection before passing away. Those who have worked long enough to know the stories insist that he was deeply committed to the safety of the artworks, taking pride in their preservation and protection. Staff members believe that his attachment to the collection has not ended with his life. The shadowy figures and whispers could be manifestations of his enduring vigilance, a presence that refuses to leave the halls where he once walked daily. Objects within the museum have also exhibited strange behavior. On more than one occasion, small items have been found slightly out of place, as if moved by an unseen hand. In one story, a delicate wooden carving that had been carefully positioned on a shelf was discovered at a different angle the following morning, with no explanation as to how it had shifted. While staff initially assumed human error, repeated incidents suggest that there may be more to these occurrences than mere chance. The atmosphere in the museum can shift noticeably depending on the time of day. During regular visiting hours, the space is lively and filled with the hum of conversation, the footsteps of patrons, and the gentle creak of the floors underfoot. At night, however, when the museum is empty except for staff or security personnel, the environment transforms. Sounds that would normally go unnoticed, the faint scrape of a floorboard, the quiet rustle of a display cover can, take on a more ominous tone. Those who have experienced these late-night hours often describe a feeling of being watched, as if unseen eyes are following their movements from room to room. Despite the eerie experiences, there is a sense of reverence rather than fear. The museum is a place of art and history, and the spectral presence seems to share this appreciation. Many employees who have encountered the ghostly activity report feeling a subtle reassurance, a comforting rather than threatening energy. It is as if the spirit's purpose is not to frighten, but to ensure the safety and respect of the collection, a lingering devotion that transcends mortality. Paranormal investigators who have visited the museum have recorded unusual phenomena, such as unexplained temperature drops, static interference on electronic devices, and faint, indiscernible voices on audio recorders. While skeptics argue that these incidents can be explained by natural causes, the consistency of reports over many years has led others to conclude that there is something truly supernatural at work. The combination of historical significance, personal devotion, and unexplained events has made the Abbey Aldrich Rockefeller Folk Art Museum a focal point for those intrigued by both art and the paranormal. Visitors and staff alike leave the museum with a sense that the building is more than just walls and exhibits. There is a lingering presence, one that continues to watch over the folk art collection and ensure that the past is respected. Shadowy figures flit through galleries, whispers echo in empty rooms, and small objects sometimes move without explanation, all hinting at the enduring attachment of a spirit who loved the museum in life and refuses to abandon it in death. For those willing to spend an hour or two wandering its halls, the museum offers more than historical insight. It provides a glimpse into a world where the living and the spectral coexist. The Abbey Aldrich Rockefeller Folk Art Museum remains a place where beauty, history, and the unexplained intersect. And for many, the stories of protective spirits watching over the art ensure that their visit is unforgettable. The American Civil War Museum in Richmond, Virginia, stands as a solemn reminder of one of the most turbulent periods in American history. Its walls are lined with artifacts, letters, uniforms, and weapons that bear witness to the sacrifices, struggles, and tragedies of a nation divided. For many, visiting the museum is a deeply moving experience, a chance to connect with the past and reflect on the human cost of war. Yet, beyond the educational exhibits and meticulously preserved relics, there exists another layer to the museum's presence, one that is unsettling and difficult to explain. Over the years, visitors and staff have reported a variety of strange occurrences that suggest the lingering energy of the past has not fully dissipated. Cold spots are among the most common phenomena. Guests have walked through certain galleries only to feel an abrupt drop in temperature, sometimes accompanied by a sudden chill that raises goosebumps on the skin. These cold areas appear unpredictably, often near displays of uniforms, weapons, or personal items belonging to soldiers, and they vanish just as quickly as they arrive. Employees who spend long hours in the museum during off hours have remarked that the coldness is not tied to any ventilation system or draft, leaving them to wonder if it is connected to something beyond the physical world. Another frequently reported phenomenon is the sense of being watched. Visitors have described an unnerving feeling, as if unseen eyes are following their movements from gallery to gallery. This sensation is particularly strong in sections dedicated to the Battle of Richmond and the final campaigns of the Confederacy, areas heavy with images of suffering, sacrifice, and loss. Many who have experienced this report an instinctual unease, a subtle pressure on the shoulders or the back of the neck, compelling them to glance over their shoulder even when no one is present. Some of the museum's more sensitive guests have even claimed to hear echoes of the past. In the quietest galleries, faint sounds have been reported: the distant crack of gunfire, the rumble of artillery, the soft murmur of soldiers' voices, and even the whispered names of men who never returned from battle. One visitor recounted standing in front of a display of letters written by soldiers to their families, only to hear what sounded like someone calling their own name, though the room was empty. Others have heard the shuffle of boots across the wooden floors, footsteps that mimic the rhythm of marching soldiers, yet vanish when investigated. Staff working late hours have shared particularly unsettling experiences. Security personnel, who patrol the museum after closing, have reported seeing shadowy figures pass through hallways or stand silently near certain exhibits, These forms are often described as semi-transparent, moving deliberately, yet without sound. On more than one occasion, guards have found doors ajar that they were certain had been locked, or lights flickering inexplicably in galleries where no electrical malfunctions were recorded. Some employees believe that these manifestations are tied to the soldiers whose lives and deaths are memorialized within the museum. A lingering presence that cannot be confined to memory alone. Visitors have also reported subtle yet unnerving tactile experiences. Some have felt brushes against their arms or shoulders when no one is nearby, as if invisible hands are guiding, warning, or even trying to communicate. In rare instances, objects such as framed documents or small artifacts have been found slightly shifted from their original positions, despite the museum's careful monitoring and security protocols. While skeptics attribute these incidents to human error or environmental factors, the consistency of reports over decades has convinced many that something beyond explanation is at work. The emotional weight of the museum itself seems to amplify the paranormal activity. Many of the artifacts are intensely personal letters penned to loved ones, keepsakes carried into battle, photographs of families torn apart by war. The energy surrounding these items, especially when combined with the overall historical gravity of the museum, seems to create an atmosphere where the past refuses to remain entirely dormant. Guests often leave the museum not only moved by the history they have witnessed, but also with a lingering awareness that the soldiers' presence is somehow still felt among the exhibits. Paranormal investigators who have visited the museum have documented unusual phenomena, including unexplained temperature fluctuations, electromagnetic field spikes, and faint voices on audio recordings. While some researchers maintain a skeptical perspective, the sheer number of consistent accounts, both anecdotal and recorded, adds weight to the belief that the American Civil War Museum may indeed be a place where the past and present intersect in ways beyond the physical realm. The museum's haunting is not always overtly frightening, but rather subtle and reflective, compelling visitors to contemplate the human experiences behind the artifacts. In a sense, the ghosts or residual energies serve as reminders of the lives lost, the struggles endured, and the legacy of sacrifice that shaped the nation. This blend of history and the supernatural gives the museum a unique ambience, where learning and reflection are intertwined with moments of eerie, unexplained activity. Even for those who do not believe in ghosts, the American Civil War Museum leaves an impression that goes beyond historical education. The palpable sense of history, the weight of personal tragedies, and the repeated reports of unexplained phenomena all contribute to an environment that is both deeply moving and unnervingly alive. Visitors often leave with a sense that the past is not entirely past, that the echoes of soldiers' lives and deaths linger in the air, visible only to those sensitive enough to perceive them. Whether you are drawn to the museum for its historical significance or intrigued by the stories of lingering spirits, the American Civil War Museum offers an experience unlike any other. The cold spots, whispering echoes, shadowy figures, and unexplained sensations provide a constant reminder that history is never truly silent. The museum stands as a place where the courage, suffering, and enduring presence of those who lived and died in one of America's darkest periods continue to leave their mark, making every visit both educational and haunting. The Frontier Culture Museum in Staunton, Virginia, offers visitors a unique glimpse into the lives of early settlers and the rich tapestry of cultural history that shaped the region. Spread across several acres, the open-air museum features reconstructed farmsteads, outbuildings, and workshops representing different periods and cultures. From European settlers to African and Native American communities, the buildings, meticulously restored and furnished, transport visitors back in time, offering a vivid experience of frontier life. Yet, beyond its educational value, the museum holds a reputation that extends into the realm of the unexplained, attracting paranormal enthusiasts and curious visitors alike. Numerous reports over the years suggest that the Frontier Culture Museum is a place where the past is never truly gone, Guests have frequently reported hearing footsteps echoing through the wooden floors of old farmhouses, even when no one else is present. The sounds often follow visitors as they walk through the buildings, stopping when approached, as if the invisible presence is aware of being observed. In some cases, the creaking of doors opening or closing has been noted in structures long abandoned, with no apparent cause. These sounds are often accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature, leaving visitors chilled despite warm weather outside. Staff members working at the museum have shared unsettling experiences as well. Many describe the sensation as a subtle pressure or brush of air, a feeling that cannot be attributed to drafts or ventilation systems. Some employees have also observed objects, small tools, utensils, or chairs slightly displaced from where they had been left, only to return to their original positions when no one is around. These small anomalies have been reported consistently across different buildings, creating a sense that the past lives embedded within the museum continue to interact with the present. Visitors to the Frontier Culture Museum often speak of an odd duality. On the one hand, the museum is vibrant with history. The smell of wood smoke from reconstructed hearths, the sights of spinning wheels and farming implements, and the sounds of farm animals create an immersive experience. On the other hand, some guests notice an atmosphere that feels dense, as if the energy of past lives lingers in the spaces between the exhibits. The effect is particularly pronounced in the European settler farmhouses and the early American workshops, areas heavily associated with long hours of labor and daily struggle. The museum's outdoor areas are not exempt from reports of paranormal activity. Walkways between the buildings, especially those lined with dense trees and tall grass, are known for strange auditory experiences. Some visitors claim to hear faint murmurs of voices carried by the wind, sometimes calling out names or speaking in languages unfamiliar to modern ears. Others report the sensation of being followed while exploring the perimeter, with footsteps mimicking their own, yet vanishing whenever they pause or turn. The combination of natural surroundings and historic structures seems to amplify these experiences, creating a setting where the line between the past and the present feels blurred. One recurring theme in these accounts is the connection to human labor and hardship. Many of the buildings represent difficult lives: settlers who endured long winters, farmers working from dawn to dusk, and enslaved or indentured individuals performing arduous tasks. Some believe that the lingering spirits or residual energies are tied to these intense human experiences, leaving an imprint that can be perceived by the living. Though these apparitions are rarely fully visible, their presence is often unmistakable. Paranormal investigators have occasionally visited the Frontier Culture Museum, documenting unexplained phenomena such as sudden temperature drops, electromagnetic field spikes, and faint audio anomalies. Recordings have captured footsteps, door creaks, and soft voices that cannot be attributed to environmental sources. While skeptics argue that these occurrences may be caused by natural factors such as wind, wildlife, or the settling of old buildings, the consistency and frequency of reports suggest that something more mysterious may be at work. The museum's reputation for the unexplained has become an additional layer of its allure. Visitors come not only to learn about early Virginia life, but also to experience a place where history feels palpably alive. The combination of authentic structures, artifacts, and long-standing reports of paranormal activity gives the Frontier Culture Museum a unique atmosphere. It is a place where the past seems to whisper through the floors, walls, and surrounding fields, leaving an impression that is as eerie as it is educational. Some guests describe the experience as subtly unsettling rather than overtly frightening. Whether these are residual energies from centuries past or spirits tied to unfinished business, they add a haunting quality to an otherwise historical visit. For those interested in both history and the supernatural, the Frontier Culture Museum offers a rare combination. Visitors can immerse themselves in the reconstructed life of early settlers while also feeling the lingering presence of those who once lived and labored in these spaces. The echoes of footsteps, the creaking doors, and the sudden chills provide a reminder that the past is not always silent. The museum allows its guests to experience history on multiple levels, blending education with an enigmatic, sometimes chilling, sense of continuity. The Virginia Museum of Fine Arts in Richmond, Virginia, is renowned for its extensive and impressive art collection, showcasing works from around the world and across centuries. Visitors come to admire paintings, sculptures, and artifacts in a setting designed for reflection and cultural enrichment. However, beneath the elegance of the museum lies a history of mysterious and unexplained activity that has intrigued both staff and paranormal enthusiasts. Despite the bright galleries and polished halls, reports of unusual occurrences have persisted for years, giving the museum an eerie reputation after hours. Staff members, particularly those working night shifts or during off hours, have recounted numerous strange events. One of the most commonly reported phenomena involves the museum's elevators. Security personnel have witnessed elevators moving between floors without anyone pressing the buttons or waiting inside. Some elevators stop at seemingly random floors, only to remain empty when the doors open. These incidents, while not frequent, are consistent enough to have caught the attention of museum management and sparked conversations about the unexplained. In addition to the elevators, the museum's lighting system has also been a source of eerie experiences. Lights in otherwise empty galleries have been known to flicker sporadically, casting shifting shadows across the artwork and creating an unsettling ambience. Employees walking through darkened halls often report the sensation of being watched, a feeling that intensifies in the quieter sections of the museum where ancient paintings and delicate sculptures are displayed. The flickering lights, combined with long corridors and reflective floors, amplify the sense that unseen eyes are observing, even in the absence of any visible presence. Perhaps most unsettling are the reports of shadowy figures moving through the galleries at night. Security staff have described glimpsing fleeting forms out of the corner of their eyes, figures that vanish when directly looked at. Some of these apparitions are described as tall and indistinct, while others appear more human-like, as if they were former visitors or employees lingering long after their time. These shadows seem to drift silently, passing between the artworks without disturbing a single object, leaving only the impression of movement and a sudden chill in the air. Visitors have occasionally encountered unexplainable occurrences as well, though these incidents are more subtle. A sudden drop in temperature in a particular gallery, the faint sensation of a brush against the arm when no one is nearby, or the inexplicable feeling of a presence in an otherwise crowded room has been reported by some patrons. Many dismiss these sensations as imagination or the natural reaction to being in a grand, quiet building, but the frequency and similarity of accounts over decades suggest a more persistent mystery. Museum staff have also reported auditory phenomena. Soft, unexplained sounds have been heard echoing through the hall's whispers. Footsteps, or the faint scraping of what sounds like chair legs across polished floors. These sounds often occur in areas that are locked and empty, making it impossible for conventional explanations like other visitors or maintenance staff to account for them. In some instances, the sounds are accompanied by flickering lights or the sensation of being touched, further deepening the unsettling atmosphere. The museum's history adds another layer to its spectral reputation. The Virginia Museum of Fine Arts has occupied its Richmond location for decades, evolving through expansions and renovations while preserving a rich collection of historical artifacts. Over the years, it has been a place where countless employees, artists, and visitors have spent significant portions of their lives. Some theorists suggest that the unusual occurrences may be residual energy from those who had strong emotional connections to the museum, emotions left behind, somehow imprinting themselves upon the space. Paranormal enthusiasts who have visited the museum have attempted to document these phenomena using audio and visual recording equipment. While some encounters remain inconclusive, recordings have captured unexpected noises, sudden temperature drops, and occasional anomalies in infrared and motion sensing cameras. Skeptics often point to the complexity of electrical systems and the natural settling of a large building as potential explanations. But the consistency of eyewitness accounts from multiple, independent sources is harder to ignore. The combination of art, history, and unexplained phenomena gives the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts a unique, almost paradoxical atmosphere. By day, it is a place of learning and inspiration, filled with the beauty of human creativity. By night, it becomes a location where the past seems to echo through the walls, where shadows linger just a little too long, and where the air itself feels charged with an invisible presence. Staff and visitors alike often report the sensation that the museum is more than a building. It is a repository of memory, emotion, and something beyond ordinary explanation. Interestingly, the museum's paranormal reputation has never overshadowed its artistic importance. Visitors continue to admire its collections, while a quieter, more selective group seeks out the subtle frisons of the unexplained. For those sensitive to the unusual, walking the halls at night can be both awe-inspiring and disconcerting, offering an experience that combines culture, history, and the faint whisper of the otherworldly. Despite these experiences, the museum remains a welcoming institution. Staff maintain routines, security measures are in place, and the gallery spaces are regularly monitored. Yet, the unexplained occurrences persist, appearing sporadically and without clear pattern. They provide a reminder that even in the most sophisticated and controlled environments, the past can leave impressions that refuse to fade entirely. Visitors and employees who have encountered the strange phenomena at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts often speak of a lingering presence rather than an overtly frightening one. It is subtle, sometimes gentle, sometimes unsettling, a soft reminder that history is not confined to artifacts alone. The museum stands as a testament not only to human artistic achievement, but also to the mysterious ways in which spaces retain the echoes of those who came before. The Edgar Allan Poe Museum in Richmond, Virginia, is a place dedicated to preserving the life, works, and legacy of one of America's most celebrated and enigmatic authors. Visitors come to explore Poe's manuscripts, personal belongings, and artifacts that reflect his dark imagination and literary genius. Yet, beyond the historical and cultural significance of the museum, there exists a reputation for unexplained and eerie occurrences that have intrigued both staff and guests for years. Many who walk its dimly lit hallways speak of sensations and sights that seem far removed from ordinary experiences, hinting at a lingering presence tied to the tormented spirit of Edgar Allan Poe himself. Guests and museum staff alike have reported sudden drops in temperature in specific rooms, even during warm days. These cold spots often appear without warning and are accompanied by the subtle feeling of being watched. Some visitors have remarked that, while standing before Poe's manuscripts or personal belongings, a sudden chill would sweep through the room, as if the author's presence were pressing close. It is this inexplicable sensation that has become one of the hallmarks of the museum's haunted reputation, leaving even the most skeptical visitors uneasy. Whispering is another phenomenon commonly reported at the Poe Museum. While exploring the corridors, guests occasionally hear faint voices, low murmurs that seem to drift just beyond comprehension. Sometimes these whispers appear to echo Poe's own literary tone, filled with melancholy and dread, as though the building itself recites fragments of his poems and tales. Staff members working late have noted that the whispers are often most prominent near the author's personal artifacts or in rooms that showcase his most haunting works. Though no one else is present, the voices persist, adding an element of unsettling intimacy to the museum's atmosphere. Shadowy figures are another frequent occurrence in the museum. Visitors have described glimpsing fleeting silhouettes in peripheral vision, only for them to vanish when directly observed. These shadows are often seen near display cases, along hallways lined with portraits, or in the museum's dim reading areas. Some believe these fleeting forms are manifestations of Poe's restless spirit, moving silently among the exhibits, silently observing those who come to learn about his life. Security personnel have also reported seeing movement on surveillance cameras in areas that are officially unoccupied, further lending credence to claims of paranormal activity. Footsteps and the sounds of faint tapping or scratching are reported sporadically throughout the building. Guests walking alone on quiet afternoons have recounted hearing the soft echo of shoes along hardwood floors. Despite the absence of other visitors, in rooms housing Poe's more macabre artifacts, such as objects linked to his personal struggles or symbols of death in his works, these sounds are often more pronounced. Staff have sometimes found objects slightly out of place, adding to the feeling that an unseen presence is moving through the museum and interacting with the environment in subtle ways. Poe's literary legacy may also play a role in the museum's paranormal reputation. The themes of isolation, despair, and mortality in his works seem to resonate within the walls of the museum, perhaps amplifying the perception of haunting. Visitors familiar with his poetry and stories have remarked that the eerie sensations often coincide with moments when they are reading or reflecting on his texts. Some suggest that the intense emotion and creative energy of Poe's life have imprinted themselves on the museum, leaving an echo of his presence that can be perceived by the sensitive or the observant. Historical events connected to Poe's life contribute further to the museum's haunted atmosphere. Poe's tumultuous personal history, marked by loss, illness, and poverty, imbues the artifacts on display with a sense of melancholy that seems tangible. Items belonging to the author, such as letters, manuscripts, and personal effects, carry stories of grief and personal struggle, and some visitors claim to feel an emotional weight when standing near these objects. The combination of historical authenticity and unexplained phenomena creates an immersive experience, one where the boundary between history and the supernatural feels unusually thin. The museum staff take these reports seriously, documenting unusual occurrences and attempting to maintain a respectful environment for visitors. While skeptics often attribute the strange events to natural causes such as drafts, building acoustics, or the imagination, the consistency of eyewitness accounts over decades is difficult to ignore. Paranormal investigators who have visited the Edgar Allan Poe Museum have recorded temperature anomalies, unexplained sounds, and occasional shadowy figures on video, further fueling speculation about the building's haunted nature. Despite its spectral reputation, the museum remains a place of learning and cultural enrichment. Visitors come to appreciate Poe's genius, unaware that alongside the historical artifacts, the subtle presence of the author's spirit may linger. For some, the experience is a thrilling reminder of Poe's enduring influence, a chance to feel the weight of history and the unseen energies that permeate the museum. The combination of literary brilliance and paranormal intrigue creates an atmosphere unlike any other, drawing visitors who are both admirers of Poe's work and seekers of the unexplained. For those who linger long enough in the dimly lit halls, the Edgar Allan Poe Museum offers more than historical insight. The whispers, fleeting shadows, and sudden chills suggest that the author's essence has not entirely departed from the world he depicted in his writings. It is as if the museum itself becomes a living extension of Poe's imagination, a space where the line between reality and the spectral becomes blurred, and the presence of a tormented yet protective spirit can be felt among the artifacts. Visitors leave the museum carrying not only knowledge of Poe's life and literary contributions, but also an awareness of the mysterious energies that persist. For some, it is a gentle thrill; for others, an unsettling encounter. Yet all are touched in some way by the lingering presence of a figure whose life was marked by brilliance and tragedy. The Edgar Allan Poe Museum stands as a testament not only to the enduring power of literature, but also to the inexplicable ways in which human emotion, history, and perhaps something beyond the natural world continue to resonate within the spaces we inhabit. The Liefendel House Museum in Alexandria, Virginia, stands as a remarkable example of 18th century architecture and Southern history. Built in 1785, the home has witnessed generations of the Lee family, as well as the tumultuous events of the nation's early years. Beyond its historical significance and elegant period furnishings, the Liefendel House has gained a reputation for paranormal activity, attracting both history enthusiasts and those intrigued by the unexplained. Over the years, visitors and staff have reported a variety of eerie experiences, from shadowy figures to sudden cold drafts, suggesting that the spirits of past residents may still linger within its walls. Guests entering the museum often describe a palpable sense of being watched. While the house is meticulously preserved, certain rooms evoke a feeling that they are not entirely empty. Visitors frequently report seeing shadowy figures moving in their peripheral vision, dressed in period clothing reminiscent of the 18th and 19th centuries. These figures often vanish when directly approached, leaving an unsettling impression of a presence that is aware of those walking the halls, but remains unseen. Some have speculated that these apparitions are the spirits of the Lee or Fendel families, quietly observing the ongoing life in their former home. Cold drafts and sudden drops in temperature are another commonly reported phenomenon at the Lee Fendel house. These cold spots often occur in the older sections of the building, particularly in hallways and rooms that retain their original architecture. Visitors have described walking through a room on a warm day only to feel an icy chill sweep past them without explanation. Staff members working late have noted these chills intensify in specific locations, often near displays of family portraits or historical artifacts, suggesting a connection to the lives and memories preserved within the house. In addition to visual and physical sensations, some visitors have reported hearing unexplained noises, footsteps echoing on the hardwood floors, doors creaking open or closed, and soft whispers seem to occur when no one else is present. Tour guides recount that these occurrences often happen during private tours or after hours, adding an extra layer of unease for those exploring the museum's quieter corners, while skeptics may attribute these sounds to the natural settling of an old building. The consistency of reports over decades lends credibility to the idea that something otherworldly may be at play. One particularly well-known account involves the home's main parlor, where visitors have occasionally reported seeing a figure of a woman standing by the fireplace, dressed in period attire. Those who attempt to approach often find the figure has disappeared, leaving only a lingering sense of sadness or contemplation. Some speculate this apparition could be a former matriarch of the house, still attached to the domestic life she once oversaw. The sighting is so frequently reported that it has become one of the defining tales of the Lee Fendel House's paranormal activity. The house's cellar and back stairways have also drawn attention from paranormal enthusiasts. Guests exploring these areas have reported sudden feelings of dread and the sensation of being followed, even when they are alone. Occasional flickering lights or the sound of faint whispers seem to accompany these feelings. Some researchers suggest that these areas, having witnessed centuries of movement, work, and possibly even conflict, may have absorbed residual energies that occasionally manifest to those sensitive to the unseen. Staff members at the museum have embraced the house's haunted reputation, often sharing visitor accounts while maintaining a respectful approach. They document unusual occurrences and encourage curiosity while reminding guests of the importance of preserving the historical integrity of the home. Paranormal investigators have also visited the Lee Fendel house, noting unexplained cold spots, shadowy figures on security cameras, and audio anomalies during late-night explorations. These findings contribute to the mystique surrounding the house and draw visitors eager to experience history alongside the supernatural. The Lee Fendel house's long history of occupancy and preservation contributes to its reputation. The home has survived wars, social upheaval, and the passage of time, hosting generations of families who left their mark on the building. Each of these lives adds layers of memory and emotion, creating an atmosphere that feels alive with unseen activity. The spirits reportedly observed in the house are thought to be remnants of those who lived there, attached to the place they once called home, maintaining a quiet presence even centuries later. Visitors often remark on the unique combination of historical education and paranormal intrigue offered by the Lee Fendel house. As they walk through the period-furnished rooms, they not only gain insight into the lives of Alexandria's prominent families, but also sense the subtle presence of the past, lingering in shadows and cold drafts. For some, the experience is thrilling, offering a tangible connection to history. For others, it is a more chilling encounter, leaving them acutely aware of the unseen lives that may still reside there. The stories of shadowy figures, sudden chills, and unexplained noises have made the Liefendel house a magnet for both historians and ghost enthusiasts alike. Whether one attributes these phenomena to lingering spirits, residual energy, or the imagination, the accounts create an undeniable aura of mystery that complements the home's rich historical legacy. Patrick Henry's Red Hill in Brookneal, Virginia, stands as both a historic monument and a site rich with the echoes of the past, preserving the home of one of America's most famous revolutionary figures. The estate offers visitors a glimpse into 18th-century life and the legacy of a man whose fiery speeches helped shape a nation. Yet, beyond the history and carefully maintained artifacts, Red Hill has developed a reputation for paranormal activity. Guests and staff alike report unusual occurrences, footsteps in empty halls, doors opening and closing without explanation, and whispers seemingly carried by unseen voices. These experiences suggest that the spirit of Patrick Henry, or perhaps those who lived and worked alongside him, may linger, keeping the revolutionary fervor alive in spectral form. Visitors arriving at Red Hill often notice a profound sense of presence. The home's original architecture, with its sturdy wooden floors, tall ceilings, and period furnishings, seems to amplify subtle sounds, making the quiet moments almost palpable. Many guests report feeling watched as they explore the rooms, particularly in the study where Patrick Henry himself composed letters and speeches. Some claim to have seen faint shadows move across the walls, or glimpsed forms in period attire that vanish when approached. The phenomenon is most commonly reported during evening tours or private visits when the house is largely empty, adding a haunting layer to the historical atmosphere. Footsteps are among the most frequently described experiences at Red Hill. Guests often hear the sound of shoes against the wooden floors, moving deliberately from room to room. The footsteps sometimes come from the upper floors or the hallway outside a closed door. Yet when visitors check, the area is empty. Staff members recount similar stories, particularly when they arrive early in the morning or leave late at night. Some believe these footsteps are echoes of Patrick Henry himself, pacing while formulating ideas or moving between rooms to check on his household. Others suggest they could be the lingering movements of the many people who lived and worked at Red Hill over the centuries. Doors opening and closing on their own is another commonly reported phenomenon. Visitors describe doors swinging gently, seemingly pushed by invisible hands, or latches clicking as if someone had entered or exited a room. This is particularly noticeable in the larger parlors and bedrooms, where the creaking hinges often produce a sound that travels through the house. Paranormal enthusiasts suggest that these occurrences may be tied to the strong emotions historically present in the home. Debates, speeches, and the fervor of revolutionary ideals could have left an imprint on the physical environment. Whispers are perhaps the most unsettling of all reported experiences at Red Hill. Guests recount hearing faint voices in empty rooms, often indistinct but carrying the cadence of conversation or deliberation. Some claim to hear the echoes of Henry's speeches, fragments of rhetoric about liberty and independence, while others report softer murmurs that seem like private conversations among household members. These auditory phenomena are not confined to a single location. They have been reported in the study, the hallways, and even near the kitchen. While skeptics may attribute these sounds to old wood settling or distant wildlife, the consistency and emotional weight of the reports suggests something more enigmatic at work. Several specific areas of Red Hill are particularly associated with paranormal activity. The study, where Henry worked and entertained guests, is frequently cited by visitors experiencing the coldest spots in the house. A sudden drop in temperature often accompanies whispers or the feeling of being watched, leading some to believe that Henry's presence is strongest in the room where his ideas and speeches came to life. Similarly, the bedrooms and upper hallways are noted for shadowy movements and footsteps, particularly in the evenings. The attic, although largely closed to the public, is rumored to be a hotspot for strange sounds and fleeting figures, suggesting the entire home is imbued with the memories of past residents. Staff members at Red Hill approach these reports with a mixture of respect and intrigue. While their primary focus is historical preservation, many acknowledge that the house has a unique energy that cannot be entirely explained. Overnight security personnel, maintenance workers, and even historians conducting late research have experienced cold drafts, subtle movements, and fleeting glimpses of figures. The consistency of these experiences over decades adds to the house's mystique and has attracted paranormal investigators interested in documenting the phenomena. The history of Red Hill itself may offer clues as to why the house feels haunted. Patrick Henry lived during a turbulent time, engaging in fervent political debate and guiding revolutionary thought. The intensity of his work and the presence of family, servants, and visitors created an environment of emotional and intellectual energy. Over the centuries, the house witnessed the comings and goings of countless people, each leaving their mark on the space. Some researchers suggest that such emotional and historical weight can manifest as residual energy, appearing to modern visitors as footsteps, whispers, and fleeting shadows. Visitors often leave Red Hill with a deep impression of both history and the unexplained. Touring the rooms, they not only gain insight into Patrick Henry's life and the early days of the American Revolution, but they also encounter moments that defy explanation. Whether it is the soft echo of a step, the sudden chill in the study, or the whisper of a voice in an empty room, the home invites reflection on the thin line between history and the supernatural. Red Hill's blend of historical significance and paranormal intrigue makes it a compelling destination for those interested in the past and the unknown. Guests can explore the estate during the day, absorbing the architecture, artifacts, and stories of Henry's life, while sensing that the home carries more than just physical history. At night, the echoes of footsteps, doors, and whispers serve as reminders that some presences never truly leave. The spirit of Patrick Henry and the people who surrounded him may continue to watch over the home, carrying the weight of revolutionary fervor across the centuries. The Museum of the Confederacy in Richmond, Virginia, now part of the larger American Civil War Museum, is a site steeped in history and, for some, a lingering sense of the supernatural. Built to preserve artifacts, documents, and the stories of the Confederacy, the museum stands as a solemn reminder of a tumultuous period in American history. Yet, beyond its exhibits and carefully curated displays, visitors and staff have reported strange and unexplainable occurrences, suggesting that the spirits of the past have not entirely departed. Cold spots, fleeting shadows, and feelings of unease are commonly recounted, creating an atmosphere where history and the paranormal intertwine. Visitors to the museum often describe an immediate sense of heaviness upon entering certain galleries. While the halls display uniforms, letters, and personal belongings of soldiers and leaders, many feel a weight beyond the historical significance. Patrons have reported sudden drops in temperature as they walk past particular exhibits, sometimes accompanied by the sensation of being watched. These cold spots seem to have no logical explanation, with thermometers and scientific instruments failing to account for the localized chill. Some speculate that these phenomena are residual echoes of the soldiers' lives' moments of fear, anxiety, and sorrow imprinted upon the building itself. Shadowy figures are among the most frequently reported occurrences. Visitors have seen indistinct forms moving just beyond the line of sight, often vanishing when approached. Some have described these apparitions as dressed in period military attire, walking through hallways or lingering near display cases. These sightings are not limited to one section of the museum. They have been reported throughout the structure, from the main exhibition rooms to side corridors and stairwells. Auditory phenomena are also commonly reported. Guests have described hearing distant footsteps echoing through the halls, even when no other visitors or staff are present. Some hear the rustling of papers or the clinking of metal, as if soldiers are moving among the exhibits. Others report whispers that seem to drift through empty rooms, sometimes sounding like the voices of men and women engaged in private conversations. While skeptics may attribute these sounds to the old building settling or to the natural acoustics of the structure, many who have experienced them are convinced that something beyond the ordinary is at work. The museum's history helps explain the source of its eerie energy. Richmond, as the capital of the Confederacy, was a center of conflict, strategy, and human suffering. The artifacts displayed in the museum were once the belongings of individuals who endured extreme hardships, whether on the battlefield or at home. Uniforms, letters, and personal items carry not only historical significance, but also the emotional imprint of the people who owned them. Some theorists suggest that intense emotions, particularly those tied to fear, grief, and unresolved trauma, can leave lingering energy, manifesting as the cold spots, shadows, and whispers reported by visitors. Certain exhibits have developed reputations as hotspots for paranormal activity. The galleries dedicated to high-ranking officers are frequently cited for shadowy movements, while rooms displaying personal letters and diaries often provoke feelings of unease among guests. Visitors describe a subtle shift in atmosphere when they approach these areas, a tension that is difficult to define, yet impossible to ignore. Some staff members believe that these manifestations are not malevolent, but rather the echoes of lives once lived, lingering in a place that preserves memory and history. Several paranormal investigators have visited the museum in recent years, documenting experiences and attempting to capture evidence of the unexplained. Reports of sudden temperature drops, moving shadows, and mysterious sounds are consistent across investigations. While some evidence remains anecdotal, the persistence of these reports over decades lends credibility to the idea that the museum holds more than just physical artifacts. The presence of lingering spirits, perhaps drawn to the items and spaces connected to their lives, seems plausible to those who have witnessed these phenomena firsthand. Even casual visitors often notice the unusual atmosphere. Some describe a feeling of unease or the sensation that they are not alone, particularly in quieter areas of the museum. Hallways may seem to stretch longer than they should, and reflections in glass cases sometimes appear distorted, as if another presence lurks just beyond perception. Guests occasionally experience brief glimpses of figures out of the corner of their eye, only for these shapes to vanish when they turn to look directly. These fleeting moments create a sense of connection with the past that is both fascinating and unsettling. Staff who spend daily hours within the museum often report the most compelling experiences. Curators, security personnel, and maintenance workers have described encountering shadowy figures, hearing footsteps and murmured voices, and feeling sudden, unexplained chills. Some have even reported objects appearing to move slightly on their own, particularly in the older sections of the building. Despite these occurrences, employees generally approach the phenomena with respect, acknowledging that the museum is a place where the weight of history and human emotion is ever present. The Museum of the Confederacy is a unique convergence of historical significance and paranormal intrigue. Visitors come to learn about a pivotal period in American history, yet many leave with stories of experiences that transcend the ordinary. The cold spots, shadowy figures, and whispers in empty galleries serve as reminders that the past, particularly one filled with conflict and human suffering, may never be entirely gone. Whether the manifestations are echoes of emotion, spirits of the past, or a combination of both, the museum offers a hauntingly immersive journey through history. Agecroft Hall, in Richmond, Virginia, stands as a remarkable testament to Tudor architecture and history. Originally built in Lancashire, England, in the late 15th century, the manor was carefully dismantled, shipped across the Atlantic, and reconstructed in Richmond in the 1920s. Today, it serves as a museum and cultural center, offering visitors a glimpse into the grandeur of English aristocratic life. Yet beneath the beauty and elegance of its timbered walls and intricate interiors lies a reputation for the paranormal. Many guests and staff report experiences that defy logical explanation, making Agecroft Hall not just a historical treasure, but also a location steeped in mystery and ghostly intrigue. Visitors often recount an immediate sense of the unusual upon entering the manor, while the grand halls, fireplaces, and ornate furnishings impress on a purely aesthetic level. Some describe a subtle shift in atmosphere, a heavy, almost tangible presence that seems to linger in the corners of rooms. Cold drafts appear unexpectedly in otherwise warm areas, and the sensation of being watched is frequently reported. These experiences suggest that Agecroft Hall may be more than just a museum of architectural history. It may also serve as a repository of lingering energy from centuries past. Among the most common reports are sightings of shadowy figures moving through the halls. Guests have described fleeting glimpses of individuals dressed in period clothing, walking down corridors, or appearing momentarily near doorways, only to vanish when approached. Some visitors claim to have seen apparitions standing near windows, gazing outward as if awaiting someone or something, while skeptics might attribute these experiences to tricks of light or the imagination. The consistency of such reports over the years lends credence to the idea that Agecroft Hall is haunted by the spirits of its former residents, or perhaps by those who once served within its walls. Unexplained sounds are another frequent occurrence. Many guests report hearing the soft creak of floorboards, distant footsteps, or the faint clatter of objects, even when the manor is empty. Some describe whispers echoing through rooms where no one is present, voices that are indistinct yet undeniably human. Staff members often recount similar experiences, noting that these sounds are most prevalent in the quietest moments, during off hours or late at night. Some believe that these auditory phenomena are residual echoes of past lives, memories imprinted onto the manor itself. Visitors have also reported physical sensations that are difficult to explain. Sudden drops in temperature, feelings of unease, and the sense of being gently touched are commonly described. Tour guides sometimes mention that specific areas of the manor are prone to these experiences, particularly rooms associated with historical significance or past trauma. The manor's age, combined with its original function as a private residence of prominence, may have created conditions for strong emotional energy to linger, energy that manifests as the paranormal encounters reported by many who visit the museum's artifacts and furnishings also seem to attract attention from unseen forces. Guests have reported objects moving slightly on their own, from chairs shifting to doors opening and closing without explanation. Some accounts describe the feeling of a presence near certain heirlooms, as though unseen eyes are observing or interacting with visitors. These occurrences are subtle, often fleeting, yet they leave a lasting impression on those who witness them. Staff members, accustomed to the building's quirks, often treat these events with quiet respect, acknowledging that the manor's long history carries more than just aesthetic value. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to Agecroft Hall, attempting to document the unexplained phenomena. Reports from these investigations frequently highlight cold spots, electronic disturbances, and inexplicable sounds captured on audio equipment. Shadowy figures caught on cameras or motion sensors have been reported, though these remain open to interpretation. Whether these manifestations are truly supernatural or the product of environmental factors and human perception, the experiences of visitors consistently reinforce Agecroft Hall's reputation as a place where the past feels alive. The manor's relocation from England adds another layer of intrigue. Dismantling and reconstructing a centuries-old structure is no small feat, and some suggest that the process may have disturbed lingering energies, binding them to the building even in its new home. The combination of historical trauma, aristocratic intrigue, and the passage of time may have created conditions for a strong paranormal imprint, giving rise to the unexplained phenomena witnessed by so many. Even during daytime tours, guests sometimes notice subtle oddities, shadows at the edge of vision, flickering reflections in mirrors, or the inexplicable feeling that a room is different than expected can unsettle visitors, while many leave the manor enchanted by its architecture and history. A significant number also leave with stories of ghostly encounters, tales that range from chilling to simply unnerving. The manor's atmosphere, steeped in centuries of human experience, seems to blur the line between past and present. Agecroft Hall offers more than a journey through history. It offers an encounter with the lingering echoes of life lived long ago. The manor's shadowy corridors, whispering walls, and inexplicable movements create an immersive experience for those interested, not only in architecture and culture, but also in the mysteries of the supernatural. Visitors are reminded that buildings, particularly those with such a long and storied history, carry with them more than wood, stone, and glass. They carry the essence of human lives, emotions, and memories. The Edgar Allan Poe House in Richmond, Virginia, is a small yet historically significant residence that carries the weight of one of America's most enigmatic literary figures. Though modest in size, the house exudes a presence that seems to transcend its walls, capturing the imagination and curiosity of every visitor. As the childhood home of Edgar Allan Poe, it has witnessed the early life of a man whose work would come to define the macabre and the mysterious. Yet beyond its historical significance, the house has garnered a reputation for being haunted, drawing the attention of both Poe enthusiasts and paranormal investigators alike. Guests and staff have consistently reported experiences that suggest the lingering presence of Poe himself, for perhaps the echoes of the darkness that so often defined his writing. Visitors often describe an immediate sense of melancholy upon entering the house. Even during daylight hours, the air seems heavy, charged with a palpable energy that cannot be easily explained. Some speak of a feeling of being observed, as though unseen eyes are tracking their movements through the narrow hallways. The sensation is subtle yet undeniable, a quiet unease that pervades every room. The house's age and the tumultuous life of its most famous occupant appear to have left an indelible mark, creating an environment where the emotional residue of the past manifests in eerie and unsettling ways. Shadows are frequently reported within the house. Guests have described seeing dark, human-shaped forms gliding through rooms, often disappearing when approached. In some cases, these figures seem to linger near objects associated with Poe, such as his writing desk or personal belongings that have been preserved over the centuries. Staff members recount instances of shadowy forms appearing at the edges of vision, vanishing only to reappear moments later. These sightings are not confined to any particular time of day, occurring both during guided tours and after hours, suggesting that the house itself may be imbued with a restless energy. Auditory phenomena are another hallmark of the house's haunted reputation. Whispers and murmurs echo through the narrow hallways, sometimes indistinct, sometimes chillingly clear. Some have even claimed to hear the sound of a quill scratching on paper in empty rooms, as though Poe himself was still laboring over a new story. The presence of these unexplained sounds adds a layer of realism to the reports, convincing many that the house is not merely the site of historical interest, but a space where the boundary between the living and the spectral is fragile and porous. Physical sensations often accompany these encounters. Sudden cold spots, brief gusts of wind in enclosed rooms, and the sensation of an unseen hand brushing against one's arm are frequently reported. These occurrences tend to be concentrated in rooms most closely associated with Poe's life, suggesting a direct link between the location and the paranormal activity. Guests recount that the intensity of these experiences can vary, sometimes manifesting as subtle unease and at other times as profound dread. The house's architecture, narrow staircases, low ceilings, and intimate rooms may amplify these sensations, creating an immersive atmosphere that feels both claustrophobic and otherworldly. The house's furnishings and artifacts appear to play a role in the haunting. Visitors have reported objects moving slightly on their own, doors opening and closing without explanation, and books falling from shelves when no one is nearby. Some accounts describe feeling a presence near Poe's belongings, as though the spirit is protective or vigilant. Staff members often treat these occurrences with quiet respect, acknowledging that the house carries more than historical artifacts. It holds the lingering essence of the life that once inhabited it. Paranormal investigators have visited the Edgar Allan Poe House in search of evidence, recording audio, capturing video, and monitoring environmental changes. Many of these investigations have produced intriguing results, including unexplained temperature drops, electronic disturbances, and subtle movements captured on camera. Shadowy figures caught on motion sensors and faint whispers recorded in empty rooms have only reinforced the house's reputation as a site of active paranormal activity. While skeptics often attribute these experiences to suggestion, lighting, or the imagination, the consistency of reports over decades points to something beyond simple explanation. The house's connection to Poe's literary legacy adds a layer of narrative resonance to its haunting. Known for his tales of horror, death, and psychological torment, Poe's work is steeped in themes that mirror the reported phenomena within his childhood home. Visitors often remark that the melancholic atmosphere of the house echoes the dark tone of his stories, creating an uncanny alignment between the art of the author and the unexplained occurrences reported by guests. This connection leads many to speculate that the house retains a fragment of Poe's tormented spirit, an echo of his genius and his suffering intertwined. Even daytime tours cannot fully dispel the house's eerie ambience. Shadows flit across rooms, cold drafts appear without explanation, and whispers sometimes intrude upon the silence. Guests leave with a dual impression, one of historical reverence for the life of Poe and another of awe and apprehension at the house's supernatural energy. The experience is both educational and unsettling, offering a glimpse into the life of one of America's most famous authors while providing first-hand exposure to the paranormal. The Edgar Allan Poe House is more than a preserved historical residence. It is a space where the past refuses to remain quiet. The weight of history, the intensity of human emotion, and the extraordinary life of Edgar Allan Poe converge to create an environment thick with mystery. Shadowy figures, disembodied footsteps, and sudden chills transform a simple visit into an encounter with the lingering echoes of genius and torment. The house embodies a delicate balance between the tangible and the intangible, a place where visitors can feel the presence of one of literature's greatest minds still walking its halls. The Museum of the Shenandoah Valley in Winchester, Virginia, is widely celebrated for its impressive collection of regional art, historical artifacts, and beautifully landscaped gardens. Yet beneath its refined appearance and educational mission lies a darker side that few casual visitors are aware of. Over the years, both staff and patrons have reported a variety of unexplained phenomena, suggesting that the museum may be more than just a repository of history. It could be a place where the past itself lingers in ways that are palpable and unsettling. The building, its gardens, and even the quiet corners of its galleries seem to hold the echoes of lives long past, creating an atmosphere where the ordinary and the spectral intersect. One of the most frequently reported occurrences is the sensation of being touched or brushed against when no one is near. Visitors have described walking down the hallways or exploring the exhibits and suddenly feeling a fleeting contact on their arms or shoulders. The sensation is gentle yet unmistakable, and when they turn to see who might have passed by, no one is there. Staff members have noted these experiences as well, often during quiet hours when the museum is nearly empty. The phenomenon is persistent enough to have become a part of the museum's lore, with employees approaching their work with a mix of curiosity, respect, and unease. Unexplained footsteps are another hallmark of the museum's haunted reputation. Guests have reported hearing soft, deliberate steps echoing through the halls, particularly near the older sections of the building. These sounds often appear in areas where no one else is present, and they vanish just as suddenly as they appear. The footsteps seem to move in patterns reminiscent of someone pacing or walking a familiar route, suggesting a presence that is both observant and purposeful. Some visitors have paused mid-tour, listening intently as the phantom steps continue around them, creating a profound sense of disorientation and anticipation. The museum's gardens, which stretch over several acres and include carefully curated landscapes, are not exempt from these mysterious occurrences. At dusk, some visitors have reported fleeting shadows among the trees and along the winding pathways. These shapes are often human in form, moving gracefully yet elusively, vanishing whenever an attempt is made to get a closer look. The soft rustle of leaves, the whisper of wind, and the occasional distant murmur of voices combine to produce an atmosphere of otherworldly presence, where the natural beauty of the grounds feels tinged with an undercurrent of unease. Temperature anomalies have also been reported. Certain rooms or hallways experience sudden drops in temperature, leaving visitors shivering despite warm weather outside. These cold spots often accompany other phenomena, such as the appearance of shadows or the sound of footsteps, creating a sensory experience that is difficult to rationalize. Staff have noticed that these drops in temperature are not random. They tend to occur in areas associated with the museum's oldest collections, suggesting a link between the age of the artifacts and the lingering energy within the building. The museum's exhibits themselves seem to play a role in these occurrences. Guests have spoken of paintings that feel watched or sculptures that seem to move subtly when not observed directly. Some have claimed to hear soft whispers emanating from particular displays, especially those featuring historical figures or scenes from the Shenandoah Valley's past. The voices are faint, often indistinct, yet compelling enough to prompt visitors to look around, expecting to find another guest or staff member nearby. When no one is present, the sensation that someone or something is observing becomes unmistakable. Paranormal investigators who have visited the Museum of the Shenandoah Valley have recorded unusual activity. EVP sessions have captured faint murmurs and distant footsteps in empty galleries. Motion sensors and infrared cameras have occasionally detected unexplained movements, often coinciding with reports from staff or visitors of ghostly sensations. While skeptics argue that the effects are caused by the building's acoustics, the consistent patterns of these phenomena over time suggest that something beyond mere coincidence may be at work. The museum's history provides context for these reports. The region has witnessed centuries of settlement, conflict, and change, and the museum itself was constructed on land rich with historical significance. Many of the artifacts housed within its walls carry stories of hardship, triumph, and loss. It is not surprising, then, that the energy of the past may linger, manifesting in ways that modern visitors can sense. Those who have felt the brushes of unseen hands or heard ghostly footsteps often describe a connection to the stories preserved within the museum, as though the spirits are tied to the lives represented by the artifacts and exhibits. Some visitors have shared personal accounts of direct encounters. One guest described standing in a quiet gallery, observing a display of 19th-century tools, when she felt a sudden touch on her arm. Turning quickly, she saw no one, yet the sensation left her with a lingering chill. Another recounted walking the garden paths in late afternoon light and glimpsing a shadowy figure moving among the trees. The figure paused, seeming to watch him, before disappearing into the shadows. These experiences, while anecdotal, reinforced the museum's reputation as a place where the boundary between the living and the spectral is delicate. For many, the haunting of the Museum of the Shenandoah Valley adds depth to their visit rather than fear. The presence of unseen forces offers a tangible connection to history, reminding guests that the past is never truly gone. The echoes of footsteps, the whispered voices, and the fleeting touches all serve as reminders that history carries energy, memory, and emotion that can manifest in the present. Whether one interprets these experiences as supernatural or psychological, they are undeniably part of the museum's unique character and enduring mystique. Visitors to the Museum of the Shenandoah Valley leave with a sense that they have stepped into more than just a museum. They have entered a space where history and the unexplained converge. The gentle brushes, soft footsteps, and shadowy presences provide a living connection to the region's past, turning a visit into an immersive experience that engages both mind and spirit. The museum's haunted reputation, far from deterring exploration, invites a deeper reflection on the lives that shaped the Shenandoah Valley and the unseen echoes that may linger in every corner. The Woodrow Wilson Presidential Library in Staunton, Virginia, is a revered site preserving the legacy of the 28th President of the United States. Housed in the former residence of the Wilson family, the library contains artifacts, letters, and personal memorabilia that offer a glimpse into the life of Woodrow Wilson and the era in which he lived. However, beyond its historical and educational significance, the library has developed a reputation for paranormal activity. Over the years, staff, researchers, and visitors have reported a variety of unexplained phenomena that suggest the presence of lingering spirits or residual energy within its walls. Many accounts center around an overwhelming sensation of being watched. Guests exploring the exhibits often describe a feeling of eyes tracking them, even when they are alone in a room. Staff members working late have reported similar experiences, sensing an unseen presence that seems to move silently behind them. This feeling is particularly strong near the former private quarters of the Wilson family, where the atmosphere appears dense, charged with energy from the lives once lived there. The sense of observation is subtle but persistent, leaving a haunting impression that someone or something remains attentive to all who enter. In otherwise temperate rooms, sudden drops in temperature have been noted, sometimes leaving visitors shivering despite wearing appropriate clothing. These cold spots often coincide with areas of high historical significance, such as Wilson's study or rooms containing personal effects. Staff have described the drops as abrupt and localized, sometimes spanning just a few feet, giving the impression of an invisible presence moving through the space. These chilling encounters are unsettling, yet have become a regular topic of discussion among those who work in the building. Voices and murmurs have also been reported, adding another layer to the library's mysterious atmosphere. Some visitors hear faint whispers, often indistinct, but occasionally recognizable as fragments of conversation. Staff working after hours have described hearing their names called or the murmur of multiple voices in rooms where they are the only occupant. These auditory phenomena often occur near areas housing Wilson's personal documents and letters, suggesting that the memories and emotions tied to these items may contribute to the unusual activity. Some researchers hypothesize that the spirits of the Wilson family or former caretakers could be communicating through these subtle sounds, leaving echoes of the past for those sensitive enough to perceive them. In addition to sensations and sounds, occasional visual phenomena have been reported. Shadowy figures have been seen moving along corridors or just beyond the edge of vision. Visitors recount glimpsing fleeting forms near windows or in hallways, only for the shapes to vanish when approached. The figures are often described as human in form, sometimes appearing to wear early 20th century clothing consistent with the Wilson era. These apparitions add a tangible element to the haunting, leaving a profound impression on those who encounter them. Staff have noted that the paranormal activity tends to be more pronounced during quiet hours, particularly late at night or early in the morning when the library is empty. During these times, the building feels different, heavier, charged with unseen energy. Footsteps echo in rooms where no one walks, doors creak open or shut on their own, and the faint scent of aged paper and wood seems stronger. Some employees have come to accept these occurrences as part of the library's unique character, viewing them as an extension of the historical presence preserved within the building. Visitors have shared personal stories of strange experiences as well. One guest recounted walking through the library's main gallery when she felt a gentle brush along her shoulder. Turning around, she saw no one, yet the sensation left her chilled and unnerved. Another described hearing the soft murmur of multiple voices in Wilson's old study while examining documents. Despite the room being empty, these accounts, while anecdotal, highlight a consistent theme. The library is a space where history seems to live on, not just in artifacts, but in an intangible presence that interacts with those who enter. The history of the Woodrow Wilson Presidential Library provides context for these phenomena. As the former home of a prominent political figure and his family, the building has been witness to both personal and national milestones. The weight of history, coupled with the emotional intensity of the Wilson family's private life, may contribute to the lingering energy that visitors perceive. The combination of historical artifacts, personal spaces, and emotional resonance creates an environment where the past is not merely remembered, it is felt. Paranormal investigators who have visited the library have documented a variety of unusual occurrences. EVP's electronic voice phenomena have captured faint whispers and unintelligible murmurs in empty rooms. Infrared cameras and motion detectors have occasionally registered unexplained movements in areas where no one is present. While skeptics may attribute these events to natural causes or building acoustics, the consistency and specificity of the reports suggest that something more mysterious may be at play. Ultimately, the Woodrow Wilson Presidential Library offers a dual experience. It is both a center for historical education and a place where the echoes of the past are alive in subtle, sometimes unsettling ways. The cold spots, ghostly whispers, fleeting shadows, and the ever-present sensation of being watched all contribute to the library's enigmatic reputation. For those willing to explore beyond the surface, these paranormal elements provide a deeper, more immersive connection to the life and legacy of Woodrow Wilson and the family who once inhabited the home. Historic Blenheim, in Fairfax, Virginia, is a remarkable site that captures a vivid piece of American history. Built in the mid-19th century, this grand Victorian home became particularly significant during the Civil War. Confederate and Union soldiers who occupied the region left their mark, quite literally, on the walls of Blenheim. In a dark yet captivating legacy, these soldiers carved their names, dates, and messages into the plaster, leaving behind a record of lives touched by conflict, fear, and hope. While the graffiti provides an incredible historical artifact, it also seems to have created a focal point for something far less tangible: paranormal activity that continues to intrigue visitors and staff alike. Those who step inside Blenheim often describe an atmosphere that is both reverent and unnerving. The combination of history, age, and the lingering weight of human emotion seems to charge the building with an energy that is palpable. Visitors frequently report hearing whispers in empty rooms. Sometimes, the voices are indistinct, a murmur of conversation just beyond comprehension. Other times, the whispers appear to form clear fragments, names, dates, or faint phrases echoing off the walls. Staff members, especially those working alone in the evening, have described sudden chills accompanied by the sense of someone standing just behind them, though no one is there. Footsteps are another common phenomenon at Blenheim. Guests walking along the darkened hallways often report hearing the echo of boots or shoes on the wooden floors. Yet, when they turn to see who might be following, they find nothing. The sounds are sometimes deliberate, pacing in patterns that suggest purpose or presence. At other times, they are more random, appearing suddenly and fading just as quickly. These footsteps are often most noticeable near the original living quarters and hallways that soldiers would have used during the Civil War, as if the echoes of the past refuse to be forgotten. Apparitions have been reported, though they tend to be fleeting and shadowy. Some visitors have glimpsed figures in period clothing, moving through rooms or along the hallways before vanishing when approached. Others have described misty, human-like shapes that seem to observe silently from corners or staircases. These figures are usually intangible, leaving no trace except for the unsettling feeling of being watched or followed. Many believe these apparitions are connected to the soldiers who carved their graffiti on the walls, their spirits perhaps drawn to the places they once inhabited in life. The graffiti itself plays a central role in the haunting reputation of Blenheim. Each carved name, date, and phrase is a direct link to the human experience of war, serving as a reminder of individuals who faced fear, uncertainty, and violence. Visitors often report that the areas near particularly dense clusters of graffiti feel colder or heavier, as if the emotional energy of the carvings has been imprinted on the space. Some guests claim that when they focus on specific names or dates, they experience sudden chills, hear whispers, or see brief flickers of movement, as if the memories of the past are attempting to reach through time. Lighting conditions also affect the intensity of reported paranormal phenomena. During late afternoon and evening hours, when shadows lengthen and the building becomes quieter, the haunting seems to become more pronounced. Footsteps echo more clearly in empty rooms, whispers seem closer, and the occasional apparition appears more defined. Some visitors describe the sensation of being drawn toward certain walls covered in graffiti, feeling a strange compulsion to examine the names carved there. as if the spirits themselves are guiding them. Staff members who work at Blenheim often share similar experiences. Cleaning or maintaining the historic property alone can be unsettling, with sudden temperature drops, unexplained sounds, and a pervasive feeling of presence. Some have recounted seeing lights flicker or objects shift slightly without explanation, further enhancing the sense that the building is alive in some otherworldly way. While skeptics might attribute these occurrences to the age of the structure or the creaking of old wood, the consistency and specificity of the reports suggest a connection to the site's history and the people who once inhabited it. Visitors' personal encounters add to the building's eerie reputation. One guest described walking along a corridor when she felt a hand brush lightly against her shoulder, though no one was near. Another recounted hearing a clear whisper of her name while examining the graffiti in a dimly lit room. Others have reported seeing a figure in Confederate or Union attire standing at the top of a staircase, only for it to disappear when approached. These experiences, while subjective, are so consistently reported that they form an undeniable part of Blenheim's identity as a haunted historical site. The history of Blenheim itself enhances the paranormal connection. As a home occupied during a tumultuous period in American history, it bore witness to fear, hope, and despair. Soldiers writing their names on walls did so not just to mark time, but to leave evidence of their existence, perhaps as a way to cope with the uncertainty surrounding them. The emotions tied to these acts, anxiety, longing, and the stark awareness of mortality, may have left a residual imprint, manifesting as the unexplained sounds, shadows, and sensations reported today. In addition to the soldiers, the house has seen generations of families and caretakers. Each life contributes layers of energy, further embedding the property with subtle, lingering presence. Some believe that the spirits are not malicious, but are echoes of the past, replaying moments of significance that continue to resonate through the hallways. Others feel that the house itself has absorbed the emotional intensity of all who have lived and passed through it, creating a place where history is experienced as both tangible and spectral. Ultimately, historic Blenheim is more than a Civil War landmark or a museum. It is a living testament to memory, history, and the residual energy of human experience. The whispers, footsteps, apparitions, and chilling sensations remind visitors that the past is not confined to documents or photographs. It can linger, unseen yet felt, in the spaces where life once unfolded. For those who walk its corridors, Blenheim offers a haunting encounter with history itself, a reminder that the echoes of the past can persist long after the final name has been carved in stone or plaster. The Edgar Allan Poe Birthplace Museum in Boston preserves the home where the famed author first drew breath, a site that now draws literature enthusiasts, history buffs, and curious travelers alike. While the museum celebrates Poe's remarkable contributions to American literature, it is also whispered to harbor something far less tangible: the lingering presence of the author himself. Many visitors and staff have reported experiences that suggest the energy of Poe's troubled life may still permeate the rooms where he once lived, creating an atmosphere thick with unease and fascination. Stepping inside the museum, one can immediately sense the weight of history. The rooms, though carefully preserved and restored, carry an ambience that feels charged. Guests often report sudden chills that seem to sweep across the hallways without any logical source. These cold spots are not constant, but appear and vanish unpredictably, sometimes freezing a visitor in place as they walk past portraits or antique furniture. Staff members have described the phenomenon as eerily precise, often occurring in the same areas repeatedly, as if the house has chosen certain spots to anchor its restless energy. Visitors have also reported fleeting shadows that appear in the corners of rooms or along hallways. These apparitions are rarely defined, more often taking the shape of a human figure or a shifting form that disappears when observed directly. Some have described seeing a small boy moving silently through the rooms, perhaps a reflection of Poe's own childhood or an echo of the lives he once knew. Others have glimpsed shadowy figures that appear to linger near personal artifacts or areas associated with the author's early life, as if drawn to the tangible connections to their former resident. Sounds are another common manifestation. Guests have heard whispers in otherwise silent rooms, snatches of conversation, faint murmurs, or even distinct phrases in a voice that cannot be placed. Some report hearing the soft scratching of a pen on paper, an auditory echo reminiscent of Poe's prolific writing. Doors have been known to creak or close gently on their own, often when no other person is present in the immediate vicinity. These occurrences are subtle yet unsettling, creating the impression that the museum itself breathes with a presence beyond the living. Particularly active areas are said to be those closest to the exhibits, detailing Poe's family life and childhood. The energy seems especially focused on rooms where visitors can see relics connected to the young writer. From furniture to personal belongings, several guests have described an inexplicable compulsion to pause or linger in these rooms, often sensing an invisible gaze upon them. Some have even reported a sensation of being lightly touched on the shoulder or arm, as if the presence is interacting in an almost protective or observational manner. The emotional atmosphere of the museum is often described as heavy or melancholic. Visitors occasionally feel an overwhelming sense of sorrow or longing, a sensation that cannot be attributed solely to the history or the exhibits. Staff members have suggested that this emotional residue could stem from the difficulties Poe endured throughout his lifelong hardship and the often dark and tormented nature of his work. In this way, the museum becomes not just a historical site, but a conduit for the emotional echoes of a life lived under extraordinary strain and creative brilliance. Some guests have reported more vivid experiences. A few have claimed to hear the faint sound of footsteps pacing a hallway when the rooms were empty. Others have seen doors swing open or closed without cause, or objects shift slightly as if nudged by unseen hands. These phenomena, while not aggressive, create a sense of unpredictability, keeping visitors aware of the house's unusual energy. Many describe leaving the museum with a heightened awareness of the unseen, a lingering impression that the building holds more than just physical history within its walls. The museum staff has learned to approach these occurrences with both respect and curiosity. They note that the activity tends to be subtle and fleeting, rarely frightening but undeniably present. For some, the phenomena provide a direct connection to Poe's life and legacy, a tangible reminder that the creative and emotional energy of individuals can imprint itself upon a place. Paranormal enthusiasts and literary pilgrims alike are drawn by these stories, eager to experience a brush with the enigmatic force that seems to linger in Boston's historic site. Visitors also note a strange interplay between time and space within the museum. Certain rooms, particularly those displaying Poe's earliest writings and familial artifacts, feel as though they exist slightly out of sync with the present. Movements of shadows, the distant creaking of floorboards, and the sensation of a watchful presence can make guests feel transported, connecting them with moments of the past. This temporal distortion enhances the haunting quality of the museum, allowing patrons to feel as though they are walking alongside the echoes of Poe's formative years. Despite these eerie elements, the museum remains a place of fascination and reverence. The reported paranormal experiences, rather than detracting from the site, often deepen visitors' appreciation for the life and work of Edgar Allan Poe. People leave not only with knowledge of the author's achievements, but also with a sense that something of his essence lingers, quietly observing, whispering, and shaping the air of the birthplace that witnessed his earliest days. In the quiet corners of the museum, where shadows stretch and light dances across antique floors, the presence of the past feels alive. The Edgar Allan Poe Birthplace Museum is more than a repository of artifacts. It is a space where the boundary between history and the unexplained is thin, where the echoes of a troubled genius still whisper through hallways, and where visitors can sense, if only for a fleeting moment, the enduring spirit of one of America's most haunted literary minds. The Edgar Allan Poe National Historic Site in Richmond stands as a preserved window into the life of one of America's most enigmatic literary figures. Visitors come to explore the home where Poe lived, hoping to connect with his world of 19th-century Richmond. Yet many find themselves confronted with experiences that go beyond mere history. Staff and guests alike have reported unusual phenomena, including sudden cold spots, flickering lights, and the persistent sensation of being watched, contributing to an atmosphere charged with mystery and unease. From the moment one steps through the front door, the building's energy feels unusual. Many visitors describe an immediate drop in temperature, often in small, localized areas that seem to appear without explanation. These cold spots can catch people off guard, particularly in the summer months when the weather outside is warm. The sudden chill feels personal, rushing across the skin in a way that suggests a presence moving through the room. Shadows play a notable role in the experiences reported by visitors. In corners of the home, staff have seen forms that seem human in shape but are intangible, moving with a purpose that is never fully understood. Visitors sometimes glimpse fleeting figures out of the corner of their eyes, only for them to vanish when looked at directly. These fleeting apparitions often appear near correlated artifacts, such as his writing desk or personal items, as if drawn to the physical traces of the man who once occupied the space. Lights within the house have their own peculiar behavior. On more than one occasion, staff have reported lamps flickering, even when all electrical systems are stable, or rooms illuminated briefly with a light that has no discernible source. These unexplainable occurrences often happen in the evening, when the house is quiet and the outside world fades away. Guests wandering the halls after hours sometimes hear the soft hum of light bulbs or the flickering of a lamp in an empty room, adding to the unnerving sense that the house itself is alive with unseen activity. Unseen footsteps are another common occurrence. Visitors report hearing slow, deliberate pacing across creaky floorboards, particularly in hallways and rooms associated with pose work. Sometimes these sounds occur simultaneously with cold spots or shadows, reinforcing the feeling that the space is inhabited by a presence unseen by the living. Staff members have learned to expect these sounds, and, while they are subtle, they nonetheless leave a lingering sense of being observed, even when the house is empty. The sense of being watched is perhaps the most unsettling phenomenon reported at the site. Visitors have recounted feeling eyes upon them while exploring rooms filled with historical displays. This sensation is not constant but comes in waves, often strongest in areas that once served as Poe's private quarters. Some have described it as a quiet, almost protective awareness, while others interpret it as the lingering gaze of a more restless spirit, tied to the intense emotional and creative energy that Poe carried with him throughout his life. Oral phenomena are also frequently reported. Staff and visitors have heard whispers or soft murmurs echoing through the hallways, sometimes indistinct and at other times forming words or phrases reminiscent of conversations long past. The sounds are never aggressive but carry a weight of sorrow or urgency, as though the home itself is holding on to memories too powerful to dissipate. Occasionally, visitors have reported hearing the scratch of pen on paper, an auditory echo that seems to recall Poe's prolific writing sessions within the same walls. Some experiences reported by guests suggest a connection to the emotional life of Poe. The house has been described as heavy with melancholy, a sensation that fills rooms with a subtle pressure or tension. Guests often leave with a sense of intimacy and unease, as if they have brushed against a portion of Poe's own tormented consciousness. This emotional residue is more than simple suggestion. Even those unfamiliar with Poe's life often sense the lingering weight of tragedy and creative genius that the house carries. Visitors sometimes encounter objects moving without explanation, books shifted on shelves, chairs slightly out of place, or small items appearing where they had not been. Left all, these occurrences have been noted by staff and guests. These subtle movements, while not threatening, contribute to the overall atmosphere of the site, reinforcing the feeling that the home is not simply a static museum, but a place still touched by the presence of its former inhabitant. Despite the eerie reports, the Edgar Allan Poe National Historic Site continues to attract literary enthusiasts and paranormal observers alike. Many visitors embrace the haunting aspects as a complement to the historical significance of the home. The stories of cold spots, flickering lights, shadows, and whispers only deepen the sense of connection to Poe, allowing visitors to engage with the house not just as a museum, but as a living echo of history. The site's allure lies in this blending of history and the unexplained. While scholars and tourists can appreciate the preserved architecture and historical artifacts, the presence of something beyond the ordinary imbues the experience with a quiet, suspenseful tension. Those who have spent time in the home often leave with a lingering impression of having been touched by the past, sensing the enduring spirit of one of America's most influential and haunted literary figures. In the dimly lit rooms with shadows stretching across antique floors, the Edgar Allan Poe National Historic Site is more than a preserved home. It is a conduit to the life and legacy of a writer whose genius was inseparable from his struggles. Cold spots, flickering lights, whispered voices, and the faint sensation of being watched create an atmosphere that allows visitors to experience a touch of the mysterious and the uncanny. For those who explore its halls, the house offers a rare glimpse into the lingering presence of Poe himself, a haunting reminder that some spirits, literary or otherwise, refuse to fade entirely. The Carlisle House Historic Park in Alexandria, Virginia, stands as a preserved example of Georgian architecture, a testament to colonial craftsmanship and refinement. Yet, behind its elegant facades and manicured gardens, the house is said to hold a darker, more mysterious presence. Staff and visitors alike have reported a range of paranormal phenomena, from disembodied voices to shadowy figures, creating an atmosphere that seems alive with echoes of the past. Upon entering the house, many visitors immediately notice a shift in the environment. The air carries a weight that feels both heavy and charged, as if the mansion itself is aware of the footsteps crossing its floors. Staff often speak of sudden, inexplicable cold spots in certain rooms. These localized chills appear without warning, lingering long enough to be felt distinctly, even during the warmer months. Visitors walking through these areas frequently report a sensation of being watched, an invisible gaze that seems to follow their movements from room to room. Footsteps are one of the most commonly reported occurrences within Carlisle House. During the quiet hours, when the museum is sparsely occupied or closed to the public, the sound of walking can be heard across polished floors. Staff members describe hearing slow, deliberate footsteps pacing the hallways, often stopping abruptly and then resuming again in another part of the house. The sounds are clear and convincing, yet, when investigated, no one is ever there. This auditory phenomenon has led many to speculate that the house retains the presence of its past residents, continuing to traverse the spaces they once called home. Doors closing on their own is another frequent report. Visitors and staff have described the soft, yet unmistakable, sound of doors shutting without a draft or any visible cause. Sometimes this occurs in high-traffic areas. Other times, it happens in isolated rooms that see little activity. The phenomenon is often accompanied by other disturbances, such as a faint murmur of voices or a sudden drop in temperature, suggesting a link between the mansion's physical features and its spectral activity. Shadowy figures are perhaps the most striking and unnerving experiences reported at Carlisle House. Guests walking through the hallways or exploring the upper floors have glimpsed human-like silhouettes, often out of the corner of their eyes. These figures appear partially transparent and tend to vanish when directly observed. Some have been seen standing at the top of staircases, staring silently before dissipating, while others appear to move from one room to another, leaving only a lingering impression of their presence. These sightings often coincide with the periods of silence between guided tours, giving a surreal, almost cinematic quality to the experiences. Whispers are another recurring feature of the house's haunting. Visitors often report hearing faint conversations, sometimes in tones that suggest concern or distress, echoing through the hallways and rooms. The voices are rarely intelligible, but they convey an unmistakable sense of life or afterlife, moving unseen through the mansion. Some claim that these murmurs seem to emanate from particular objects, such as antique furniture, fireplaces, or framed portraits, as though the house itself remembers the moments of intimacy and daily routines of its long-departed occupants. Carlisle House's long history adds context to these paranormal occurrences. Built in the 18th century, the mansion served as a residence of John Carlisle, a prominent figure in Alexandria's colonial society. The house witnessed gatherings, conversations, and events that shaped the local history. The weight of these experiences seems embedded within the walls, as if the emotions and energies of past residents and visitors have imprinted themselves on the physical structure. Staff have often noted that rooms associated with social gatherings, such as the parlor and main dining areas, exhibit heightened activity, including sudden drafts, flickering lights, and unexplained sounds. Visitors sometimes describe a sensation of emotional resonance when moving through the mansion. A quiet unease settles in certain rooms, a mix of curiosity and apprehension that makes the space feel simultaneously alive and distant. Many interpret this as the lingering presence of the Carlisle family, a spectral reflection of the life and activity that once animated the house. This feeling is particularly strong in rooms containing personal items or period furnishings, which seem to act as anchors for the spirits tied to the mansion's history. Unseen interactions with the environment further add to the house's eerie reputation. Staff and guests have noted objects shifting slightly, such as chairs moved from their original positions, books appearing out of place, and small items vanishing only to reappear later. While these movements are subtle, they reinforce the impression that the mansion is inhabited by forces beyond the natural. The combination of auditory, visual, and tactile experiences creates a multi-sensory sense of haunting that is difficult to dismiss. Despite these unsettling accounts, Carlisle House remains a place of fascination and historical importance. Visitors come to admire its Georgian architecture and explore its carefully preserved interiors. Yet many leave with stories of strange occurrences that linger in memory long after the tour ends. Paranormal enthusiasts are drawn to the mansion, seeking first-hand experiences of the cold spots, footsteps, shadows, and whispers that have become part of the house's legend. The Carlisle House Historic Park exemplifies the delicate balance between history and the unexplained. While it functions as a museum, educating visitors about 18th century life and colonial society, it simultaneously offers a doorway to the mysterious. The reports of disembodied voices, shadowy figures, sudden chills, and objects moving without cause suggest a connection between the mansion's long past and its present. For those who explore its halls, Carlisle House is not merely a historical site, but a living testament to the idea that some energies, emotions, and perhaps spirits endure long after their human hosts have departed. Mount Vernon, the historic estate of George Washington in Alexandria, Virginia, is widely celebrated as a cornerstone of American history. Visitors flock to its stately mansion, meticulously maintained gardens, and the surrounding landscapes to experience the grandeur of Washington's life. Yet beneath the surface of its well-preserved elegance lies a more mysterious side. Over the years, numerous reports have suggested that the estate may be haunted, with visitors and staff encountering ghostly figures, unexplained sounds, and a lingering sense of presence that transcends the historical artifacts on display. The mansion itself, a sprawling example of 18th century architecture, seems to carry the echoes of the past. Guests have reported seeing translucent figures resembling servants and family members moving quietly through the hallways and corridors. These apparitions often appear briefly, sometimes at the edge of vision, and vanish when observed directly, leaving only the memory of movement and a faint sense of their presence. In some instances, these figures have been described as going about daily tasks, appearing almost oblivious to the modern visitors who wander through the rooms. Staff members have consistently noted unusual auditory phenomena throughout the estate. Soft murmurs, disembodied footsteps, and the occasional clink of silverware or glassware in empty rooms have been reported, particularly in the mansion's dining areas and kitchen spaces. These sounds often occur in locations associated with the activity of Washington and his household, suggesting that the estate may retain impressions of its historical occupants. Even during periods of quiet, the sense of an unseen presence is palpable, as though the house itself remembers the lives that unfolded within its walls. Visitors have also described sudden cold spots, often experienced in rooms that were once private chambers or servant quarters. These temperature drops can be sudden and pronounced, accompanied by the sensation of being watched. The chills often coincide with other anomalies, such as the faint rustle of fabric or the fleeting shadow of a figure passing across a doorway. Some speculate that these cold spots are residual energies, echoes of the daily lives of those who lived and worked at Mount Vernon centuries ago. The estate's extensive gardens and outbuildings, including the smokehouse, stables, and slave quarters, have their own reputations for ghostly activity. Guests exploring these areas report fleeting glimpses of figures in period attire, moving silently among the hedgerows or through the stables. Some have seen spectral servants tending to tasks, while others have claimed to witness figures who appear to be members of the Washington family, standing pensively in the gardens or walking along the pathways. The interactions are brief but often leave a lasting impression, a reminder that the estate's history is layered with human stories that continue to resonate. The historical context of Mount Vernon provides a backdrop for these accounts. As the home of George Washington, the estate witnessed both the grandeur and the challenges of 18th century life. Family members, servants, and enslaved individuals all played roles in the daily rhythms of the property, and the intensity of their experiences may have left subtle marks on the environment. Staff and paranormal investigators suggest that the estate's haunting phenomena are tied not only to Washington himself, but to the many people whose lives were intertwined with his. One of the most intriguing aspects of the reported hauntings is the sense of temporal dislocation. Visitors often describe moments where the past seems to intrude on the present, door closing softly behind them when no one is near, the faint sound of conversation in an empty room, or the feeling of being gently guided along a hallway. These experiences suggest that Mount Vernon may be a nexus of historical energy, a place where the weight of memory and human presence lingers beyond physical life. Despite these reports, Mount Vernon remains a welcoming and educational site. The mansion's staff worked diligently to preserve the estate's history while acknowledging the stories that contribute to its mystique. Guided tours often highlight the lives of the enslaved workers, the intricacies of 18th century household management, and the accomplishments of the Washington family. Yet, visitors cannot help but feel that the mansion holds more than historical artifacts. It harbors echoes of the lives that once animated its rooms. Accounts of ghostly encounters at Mount Vernon are not limited to visual or auditory phenomena. Some visitors report emotional impressions, sudden waves of melancholy or calm wind moving through certain rooms. Others experience a feeling of being in the presence of someone who is watching over them, protective rather than threatening. These subtle sensations contribute to the estate's otherworldly reputation and add depth to the visitor experience. Blending history with the unexplained, the riverfront area of the estate, overlooking the Potomac, is also associated with stories of lingering spirits. Some guests have claimed to see figures along the riverbank, particularly during twilight or misty mornings. These apparitions are often described as fleeting, moving silently along the shoreline before disappearing into the landscape. The interplay of natural beauty and spectral presence gives the estate a hauntingly poetic quality, where history and legend merge along the water's edge. Even at night, when the estate is closed to the public, staff have reported unusual activity. Security personnel have described shadows crossing hallways, lights flickering in rooms that are empty, and the occasional feeling of a presence nearby. These nighttime phenomena underscore the sense that Mount Vernon is a living repository of memory, a place where the echoes of the past are never entirely silent. Mount Vernon invites exploration not only of George Washington's life and legacy, but also of the unseen traces left by those who inhabited the estate. The reported ghostly figures, cold spots, disembodied sounds, and fleeting shadows all contribute to a narrative that blends history with mystery. Visitors leave with more than photographs and memories of colonial architecture. They depart with stories of moments when the past seemed to brush against the present, moments where the estate itself felt alive with the spirits of its former inhabitants. Lee Hall Mansion in Newport News, Virginia, stands as a grand relic of the Civil War era. Its stately architecture reflecting both the opulence and the turbulent history of the period. Today preserved as a museum, it draws visitors eager to explore its historical significance, including its connection to the Civil War and the life of the Lee family. However, beyond its educational offerings, the mansion has developed a reputation for paranormal activity, with numerous reports of ghostly phenomena that hint at the lingering presence of those who once walked its halls. Built in the mid-19th century, Lee Hall Mansion was a center of social and family life, but its proximity to Civil War battlefields left its residents and the surrounding community in constant tension. Soldiers passed through its grounds, and the mansion occasionally served as a temporary headquarters and refuge during the conflict. Many historians and paranormal enthusiasts suggest that the intensity of these experiences, moments of fear, sorrow, and human drama, left a subtle imprint on the estate, one that may still manifest today. Visitors often report sudden cold spots as they move through the mansion. These abrupt drops in temperature are particularly noticeable in the upper floors and along hallways where bedrooms and private chambers were once located. Guests describe an almost tangible chill, a sensation that is accompanied by the feeling of being observed, as though unseen eyes are following their movements. These occurrences are sometimes fleeting, lasting only seconds, but leave a strong impression on those who experience them. In addition to cold spots, many witnesses have reported strange sounds echoing through the mansion. Footsteps are among the most common auditory phenomena, often heard on staircases or in rooms that are otherwise empty. These footsteps may vary in tempo, from slow and deliberate to hurried and light, suggesting the movements of unseen figures. Some visitors have also described the faint sound of doors creaking open or closing without any physical cause, as well as muffled voices and whispers that seem to drift from one room to another. Apparitions have also been observed by both visitors and staff. Shadowy figures in period attire are often glimpsed from the corner of the eye, vanishing when approached. Some witnesses describe seeing what appear to be former residents or family members moving about in quiet, almost domestic routines. Indication, some believe, that these spirits are attached to the mansion, not out of malice, but from familiarity and a connection to their former home. The presence of these apparitions adds a layer of eerie authenticity to the mansion's historical atmosphere. The mansion's main rooms, including the parlor and dining areas, are particularly associated with unexplained phenomena. Guests have reported seeing objects seemingly move on their own, chairs slightly shifted from their original positions, and delicate items appearing subtly out of place. In some instances, the mansion's fine furnishings and decorative elements seem to take on an otherworldly life, casting shadows that do not align with the current lighting, further enhancing the feeling that the house is not entirely empty. Lee Hall Mansion's long history as a family home, a wartime refuge, and now a museum provides ample context for the paranormal activity. The estate witnessed joy, grief, and the intense stress of war, all of which may have left residual energy within its walls. Some paranormal researchers suggest that the mansion acts as a kind of historical echo chamber, preserving moments of emotional intensity that replay under certain conditions. Others propose that the spirits present are those of individuals who maintain a deep connection to the home, unable to leave the place that defines so much of their lives. Even in the museum's more public areas, visitors have reported experiences that defy explanation. Hallways are often described as feeling oppressively quiet, with occasional drafts that seem to move against the natural flow of air. Security staff have reported hearing footsteps in empty corridors, and some have sensed a presence that follows them during their rounds. These experiences contribute to the mansion's reputation as a site where history and the supernatural intersect. The mansion's outbuildings and surrounding grounds are also associated with paranormal accounts. Some visitors have seen fleeting figures near the carriage house or along the tree-lined paths of the estate, often at dusk or during foggy mornings. The combination of natural beauty and reported supernatural activity gives Lee Hall Mansion a hauntingly poetic quality, blending the historical significance of the site with the intrigue of unexplained phenomena. Despite the eerie reports, Lee Hall Mansion remains a popular destination for tourists and history enthusiasts. Guided tours often focus on the architecture, the Lee family history, and the mansion's role during the Civil War. However, the stories of ghostly sightings and strange occurrences are frequently shared during tours, capturing the imagination of visitors and adding an extra layer of fascination. Many guests leave not only with a deeper appreciation for the mansion's history, but also with personal accounts of moments when the past seemed to brush against the present. The mansion's haunting phenomena are not universally negative. Some visitors describe a sense of calm or protection in the presence of these spirits, particularly when observing apparitions that appear domestic or benign. The mansion's spectral residents seem more interested in maintaining a connection to their home than in causing harm, making the encounters more intriguing than frightening for many who visit. The Valentine in Richmond, Virginia, stands as one of the city's most prominent museums, dedicated to preserving and showcasing the history of Richmond and its residents. Housed in a stately brick building that dates back to the 19th century, the Valentine is known not only for its extensive collection of artifacts and exhibits, but also for the numerous reports of paranormal activity that have emerged over the years. The museum's unique combination of historical significance and unexplained phenomena makes it a fascinating destination for visitors interested in both history and the supernatural. The building itself carries the weight of centuries, having witnessed generations of residents, staff, and countless visitors. Many of the museum's ghostly reports focus on cold drafts that appear seemingly out of nowhere, even in rooms that are otherwise sealed and climate-controlled. Guests and staff alike have described sudden chills that creep along the spine, often accompanied by an unshakable feeling that someone or something is present nearby. These sensations are frequently reported in the quieter corners of the museum, away from the bustle of exhibit areas, adding an eerie contrast to the otherwise orderly and welcoming environment. Whispers are another common occurrence at the Valentine. Staff have described hearing faint voices in hallways and rooms that are otherwise empty, sometimes catching fragments of conversation or a name called softly in the distance. Visitors have occasionally reported the same phenomena, noting that the whispers often seem to follow them from room to room, only to vanish when one stops to listen more closely. Some speculate that these sounds are echoes of the past, remnants of the building's former inhabitants, or individuals who once worked within its walls, lingering long after their time has passed. Fleeting shadows are also frequently reported within the Valentine. Staff have glimpsed figures moving across peripheral vision, only to find nothing upon turning to look directly. Guests have described similar experiences, seeing dark shapes that appear to drift silently through rooms or across hallways, vanishing without a trace. In some cases, these apparitions are reported near the staircases and upper floors, areas historically used as private quarters or offices. The elusive nature of these sightings gives them an especially haunting quality, as the figures seem both present and intangible at the same time. The Valentine's history may provide context for some of these ghostly phenomena. The building has seen periods of change, from private residence to museum, and has housed a variety of staff and patrons over the decades. The transition from domestic space to public institution may have amplified the residual energies of the past, leaving traces that continue to manifest in unusual ways. Some paranormal enthusiasts suggest that the combination of the building's age, its frequent foot traffic, and its strong connection to Richmond's cultural memory creates the perfect conditions for haunting. Certain areas of the museum seem to attract more paranormal reports than others. Staff members have noted that offices and storage rooms, where fewer people regularly enter, are particularly active. Cold spots, whispers, and shadowy movements are most frequently reported here. often intensifying during late hours when the museum is closed to the public. Visitors who have had the chance to attend evening events or private tours sometimes recount similar experiences, reinforcing the idea that these manifestations are linked to the building itself rather than specific individuals. While many of the reported events are subtle, they are persistent enough to leave a lasting impression. Staff members often describe a feeling of being watched or followed, even in empty rooms. Some have caught glimpses of movement in reflective surfaces or the corner of their eye, only to find nothing when they turn to investigate. Visitors, too, often leave with stories of sudden chills, whispered voices, or strange sensations that linger long after they exit the building. These experiences contribute to the Valentine's reputation as a site where history and the supernatural intersect. Interestingly, not all reported encounters are frightening. Some visitors describe a sense of presence that feels protective or comforting, as though the spirits of past inhabitants are observing rather than intending harm. This duality, a mixture of unease and fascination, is part of what makes the Valentine compelling to both history enthusiasts and paranormal investigators alike. The building becomes not just a museum of artifacts, but also a repository of lingering memory, where the emotional echoes of past lives continue to resonate. Paranormal investigations at the Valentine have documented a range of unusual phenomena, from unexplained sounds to temperature fluctuations and shadowy forms caught on cameras. While skeptics often attribute these occurrences to natural causes, many researchers insist that the consistent reports from both staff and visitors suggest something more. The combination of historical significance, architectural character, and reported spectral activity creates an atmosphere that is at once educational and eerie, drawing those who are curious about the mysteries of the past. The museum's role in preserving Richmond's history adds another layer to the haunting. Each artifact, photograph, and document represents a life once lived, a story once told. Some theorists believe that these objects themselves may act as conduits for the residual energies that people report experiencing. Walking through the Valentine, one is surrounded not only by tangible history, but also by subtle reminders of the emotional and spiritual imprints left behind over generations. The Valentine continues to welcome thousands of visitors each year, offering tours, exhibits, and educational programs. Yet, for those attuned to the building's more mysterious side, the museum provides an experience that goes beyond historical knowledge. The whispers, cold drafts, and shadowy figures serve as a reminder that the past is never truly gone, that the spirits of former inhabitants or the echoes of their lives may still linger in the corners of the building, quietly observing all who enter. Ferry Farm in Fredericksburg, Virginia, holds a special place in American history as the boyhood home of George Washington. Visitors to the site come to explore the carefully preserved grounds and museum exhibits, hoping to step back in time and imagine the life of the young Washington. Yet beyond its historical significance, Ferry Farm is also known for its paranormal activity. Guests and staff alike have reported eerie occurrences, from ghostly figures appearing in the fields to unexplained footsteps echoing through the museum buildings. The farm seems to carry not only the memories of a future president, but also residual energies from centuries of life on the land. The farm's atmosphere can shift dramatically depending on the time of day. During daylight hours, it is peaceful, with rolling fields, reconstructed colonial buildings, and interpretive displays capturing the essence of 18th century life. However, many reports of the supernatural occur in the early morning or at dusk, when shadows lengthen and the air grows still. Visitors have described a palpable sense of being watched, even in areas that appear entirely empty. Some say it feels as if invisible eyes follow them across the fields, and a sudden chill can descend for no apparent reason. Footsteps are among the most commonly reported phenomena at Ferry Farm. Staff working in the museum or the reconstructed buildings often hear the sound of boots or shoes on wooden floors when no one else is present. The sounds are sometimes rapid, as if someone is pacing, and at other times slow and deliberate, as if a figure is making its way from one room to another. Visitors have also described hearing these footsteps in the halls of the museum or outside along the pathways, particularly near the river that borders the property. Attempts to locate the source often yield nothing, leaving only the echoes of the unseen presence. Some encounters involve more direct sensations. Guests have reported feeling hands brush against their arms or shoulders as they walk across the grounds. One visitor described pausing to examine a display, only to feel a cold, fleeting touch on the back of her neck, as if someone had walked by very close behind her. Staff have experienced similar sensations in storage areas and hallways, where no other human presence could account for the feeling. These experiences leave a lingering unease, a reminder that Fairy Farm may harbor spirits from the past. Ghostly apparitions are also part of the farm's supernatural lore. Several visitors have claimed to see fleeting figures moving across the fields or standing near the reconstructed buildings. These figures are often described as semi-transparent and dressed in 18th century clothing. Some have reported seeing a young boy darting between trees, which many believe to be the young George Washington himself. Others have seen adult figures standing silently near the river or around the outbuildings, only to vanish when approached. The consistency of these reports suggests more than imagination. According to paranormal enthusiasts, the farm's long history may provide some context for these occurrences. Before it became George Washington's childhood home, the land saw generations of families living, working, and farming along its fertile banks. Life in colonial Virginia was difficult, and records suggest the property may have witnessed tragedies such as illness, accidental deaths, and the hardships of frontier life. These historical events could have left residual energies that now manifest as unexplained phenomena, lingering echoes of lives once lived. Visitors have also reported unusual sounds beyond footsteps. Soft whispers, creaks, and even distant laughter have been heard in areas that appear empty. Sometimes the sounds seem to come from the riverbank, other times from the outbuildings or reconstructed main house. A staff member recounted hearing the faint clatter of tools in a blacksmith's workshop when the space was unoccupied, as if invisible hands were going about their daily work. Such auditory phenomena contribute to the farm's eerie atmosphere, particularly in the quieter hours of the day. Certain locations on the grounds are reported to be more active than others. The riverbank, where young George Washington may have spent time exploring, seems to attract sightings and sensations of being watched. The main house, even in its reconstructed form, is another hotspot, with footsteps, cold spots, and occasional apparitions reported in its rooms. Even areas once used for farm work, such as barns and outbuildings, seem to retain some presence, perhaps linked to the long history of human labor and life there. Despite the eerie experiences, many visitors find the hauntings at Fairy Farm fascinating rather than frightening. The sense of connection to the past, combined with the possibility of seeing or feeling a spirit, adds a unique dimension to exploring the historic site. Paranormal investigators have visited the property to document these occurrences, recording unexplained sounds, temperature fluctuations, and even photographic anomalies. While skeptics often attribute these events to natural causes or the imagination, the consistency and frequency of reports have made Fairy Farm a point of interest in both historical and paranormal circles. The ghostly activity at Fairy Farm reminds visitors that history is more than dates and artifacts. It is also the lives of those who came before, their struggles, joys, and perhaps even their lingering presence. Whether the spirits are connected to the Washington family, earlier inhabitants, or generations of farm workers, their presence creates an atmosphere where the past feels alive, quietly interacting with the present. Guests leave with more than just historical knowledge. They carry memories of moments where the veil between past and present seemed thin, where shadows and whispers hinted at lives that continue to exist beyond the tangible world. Shirley Plantation in Charles City, Virginia, is not only a historical landmark, but also a site steeped in stories of the supernatural. Established in 1613, it stands as one of the oldest, continuously operating plantations in the United States, and over 4 centuries, it has witnessed countless lives, joys, and tragedies. While many come to explore its historic buildings, sprawling grounds, and riverfront views, some visitors leave with experiences that defy explanation. Shirley Plantation is widely regarded as a haunted estate, with reports of ghostly figures, sudden chills, and mysterious noises that echo through the halls. The plantation's main house, a stately structure showcasing early American architecture, is often the focal point for paranormal activity. Guests and staff have reported sightings of ghostly figures moving silently through the rooms and hallways. Some describe seeing women in period gowns gliding across the floors, while others report the shadowy outlines of men in colonial attire. These apparitions are sometimes fleeting, vanishing when approached, yet they leave an unmistakable sense that the past is very much present. The ethereal figures are often seen near family portraits, in parlors, and in the hallways leading to the bedrooms, suggesting that they may be spirits of former residents lingering in the spaces they once occupied. Visitors frequently report sudden drops in temperature in certain areas of the plantation. Rooms that are comfortably warm during the day can become icy cold in an instant, even when all windows and doors are closed. These cold spots are often accompanied by a feeling of unease, as if an invisible presence is nearby. Some guests describe the sensation of being watched or followed while walking through these areas. The main house, with its high ceilings and long corridors, seems to amplify these sensations, making even routine tours of the building feel charged with a mysterious energy. Unexplained noises are another common occurrence at Shirley Plantation. Guests and staff alike have reported hearing footsteps echoing across wooden floors when no one else is present. Doors have been known to open and close on their own, and the sound of faint whispers has been reported in rooms that are otherwise silent. These auditory phenomena are often subtle, easily dismissed as the creaks and groans of an old house, yet many insist that the noises are too deliberate and timed to be mere coincidence. In some cases, the sounds seem to respond to human presence, growing louder when someone enters a room and fading when they leave. The plantation grounds themselves also hold a reputation for paranormal activity. The expansive gardens, riverfront areas, and old outbuildings are not only picturesque, but also sites of eerie experiences. Visitors walking the paths have reported seeing fleeting shadows among the trees and hearing rustling noises when no wind is present. The river that borders the property has been associated with ghostly sightings, with some claiming to see figures standing silently along the banks, gazing across the water. These encounters are often brief, leaving an impression of lives that once thrived here but are no longer bound to the physical world. Shirley Plantation's long history includes both wealth and hardship, which may contribute to the lingering spirits. Generations of the Carter family lived and worked here, along with enslaved people whose labor made the plantation prosperous. Records indicate that the plantation endured fires, deaths, and other tragedies over the centuries. It is possible that the intense emotions tied to these events, grief, loss, and longing have left an imprint on the property, manifesting as ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena. Some paranormal enthusiasts suggest that places with such concentrated human emotion naturally attract lingering energies, and Shirley Plantation provides a rich environment for these manifestations. Guided tours occasionally include stories of specific hauntings. Visitors have recounted seeing the figure of a young woman in a white dress, peering from a window, only to vanish when approached. In the main house, some have claimed that family portraits seem to watch them, and shadows appear to move across walls and ceilings. Tour guides often acknowledge these stories with a mix of amusement and seriousness, noting that while they cannot confirm the supernatural, the consistency of reports over decades makes the tales difficult to ignore. Staff members have also shared personal encounters. Some describe hearing objects move without explanation, such as chairs shifting slightly or tools in the outbuildings being displaced. Others recount feelings of pressure on their shoulders or sudden cold drafts in otherwise warm rooms. While skeptics might attribute these experiences to natural causes, including the age of the structures or shifting air currents, Those who have felt the presence insist that something intangible is at work, something that defies rational explanation. The plantation's haunted reputation has drawn both curious visitors and paranormal investigators. Equipment designed to measure temperature changes, electromagnetic fields, and sound anomalies has occasionally recorded inexplicable data during investigations. While these findings are inconclusive, they lend a layer of credibility to the stories of those who have encountered the unseen. For many, Shirley Plantation is not only a place to learn about history, but also a location where the veil between past and present feels especially thin. Despite the eerie tales, many visitors find the experience thrilling rather than frightening. Walking through the halls of Shirley Plantation, observing the grand architecture, and hearing stories of past residents, both living and spectral, adds a unique dimension to a tour. The combination of rich history, tragic events, and reported paranormal activity creates an atmosphere where guests feel connected to the lives that unfolded over centuries, offering a glimpse into both the human and supernatural legacies that inhabit the estate. Bacon's Castle in Surrey, Virginia, stands as one of the most intriguing historic homes in the United States, both for its architectural uniqueness and its reputation for the supernatural. Built in 1665, it is the oldest brick house in Virginia, with Jacobean architecture, a style rarely seen in the American colonies. While the mansion draws visitors eager to explore its history and grandeur, many are also drawn by its reputation as a haunted site. Staff and guests alike have recounted experiences that suggest the house is far from silent and that the spirits of its past inhabitants may still linger within its walls. The mansion's long history is filled with events that could leave lingering energy behind. Originally constructed by Arthur Allen, the house became infamous during the Bacon's Rebellion in 1676, when it was occupied by rebel forces. Over the centuries, Bacon's Castle has changed hands numerous times and has witnessed the lives of countless families, servants, and laborers. The echoes of these lives, marked by conflict, daily toil, and personal tragedies, are said to manifest as paranormal activity throughout the property. Visitors often report sudden drops in temperature in certain rooms, even during the warmest months. These cold spots are particularly noticeable in the upper hallways and in the east wing of the mansion. Some claim that when they enter these areas, a chilling presence seems to press against them, accompanied by the unmistakable feeling of being watched. Staff members have noted that these occurrences are not limited to a single room, but appear sporadically, as if the house itself decides when to reveal its spectral inhabitants. Shadows moving across walls and floors are another commonly reported phenomenon at Bacon's Castle. Guests frequently describe glimpses of fleeting figures out of the corner of their eyes, figures that disappear when they turn to face them. These shadows often appear in the corridors and grand halls, particularly near the original brick staircases. Some suggest that these manifestations are remnants of past residents, replaying moments of their lives in a perpetual loop, while others believe they may be more active spirits, curious about the modern visitors wandering through their home. Whispers and faint voices add to the mansion's eerie ambience. Guests have reported hearing their names called softly, or the sound of conversations in empty rooms. Staff have recounted hearing the distant echo of footsteps on the upper floors when no one is present, as well as the gentle creaking of doors opening and closing on their own. Many visitors admit to feeling uneasy in these moments, sensing an invisible presence, observing their movements, yet seeing nothing tangible to explain it. The mansion's library and dining areas seem to be particularly active. Visitors have described the sudden movement of objects, such as books sliding from shelves or chairs shifting slightly. Some staff members have felt a gentle pressure on their shoulders or the brushing of an unseen hand as they move through these rooms, while the house's age and wooden construction might explain some of the creaks and groans. The consistency and specificity of these experiences have convinced many that something otherworldly is at play. Bacon's Castle also has a storied history involving illness and death, which may contribute to its haunting reputation. Over the centuries, several residents and workers succumbed to disease, accidents, or natural causes within the mansion and its surrounding grounds. Paranormal enthusiasts often speculate that these intense emotional events may have left an imprint, a type of residual energy that continues to play out within the house. Others suggest that the mansion is home to intelligent spirits, actively interacting with visitors and staff, leaving subtle reminders of their continued presence. Guided tours of Bacon's Castle often include tales of the supernatural, recounting both historical facts and anecdotal experiences. Guests are sometimes told about sightings of a woman in a flowing gown on the second floor, vanishing when approached, or the shadow of a man standing silently at the top of the staircase. These stories, shared alongside accounts of the mansion's architecture and historical significance, create a unique atmosphere where history and the paranormal intersect. The combination of eerie experiences with a tangible sense of the past makes each visit memorable and hauntingly vivid. The mansion's gardens and surrounding grounds also hold a reputation for ghostly activity. Visitors walking among the ancient brick pathways and landscaped areas have reported shadows moving through the trees, distant whispers carried by the wind, and sudden chills that seem out of place. Some have even claimed to see figures standing by the estate's outer walls, only to vanish moments later. The grounds themselves, with their centuries-old trees and carefully maintained landscapes, seem to echo the mansion's history, offering glimpses into lives long past. Paranormal investigators have taken an interest in Bacon's Castle, setting up equipment to monitor temperature fluctuations, electromagnetic fields, and unexplained sounds. While results vary, many investigations have recorded anomalies that correspond with guest and staff experiences. Whether these readings are evidence of spirits or simply the quirks of an old building is debated. Yet they add an extra layer of intrigue to the mansion's haunted reputation. Despite its eerie reputation, Bacon's Castle remains a popular destination for history enthusiasts and ghost hunters alike. Visitors are drawn not only by its architectural splendor and historical importance, but also by the possibility of encountering something from beyond the grave. The blend of tangible history with the unexplained creates an experience that is both educational and chilling, leaving guests with lasting memories of a mansion that is very much alive in more ways than one. Historic St. John's Church in Richmond, Virginia, stands as a symbol of American history, its walls echoing the voices of patriots from centuries past. Built in the 18th century, it is most famous as the site where Patrick Henry delivered his iconic "Give me liberty" or "Give me death" speech, rallying support for the Revolutionary War. Today, it operates both as a museum and a place of worship, preserving artifacts and the rich history of the era. Yet beyond its historical significance, St. John's has long been regarded as a site of paranormal activity, drawing visitors intrigued not only by history, but also by the unexplained phenomena said to linger within its walls. Staff and frequent visitors have reported a variety of ghostly experiences, many of which center around fleeting apparitions. Some have seen shadowy figures moving through the pews or standing near the pulpit, dressed in the attire of 18th century clergy or townspeople. These apparitions often appear briefly, vanishing when observers attempt to approach, leaving an unsettling impression that the spirits are aware of the living and deliberately remain elusive. During quiet tours of the church, it is common for visitors to report hearing whispers that seem to emanate from empty corners of the building. Some claim these whispers are coherent, though faint, as if fragments of conversations from centuries ago are replaying in the present. Often, these sounds are heard in the museum portion of the church, where artifacts like old hymnals, colonial era furnishings, and documents are displayed. The whispers seem to serve as subtle reminders that the lives and voices of those from the Revolutionary era are still imprinted on the space. Cold spots are another recurring phenomenon in St. John's. Certain areas, particularly near the pulpit and the rear gallery, have been known to drop in temperature abruptly, even on warm days. Visitors sometimes feel a sudden chill wash over them, accompanied by the sense of being watched or followed. Staff members report that these cold spots can appear and disappear without any apparent pattern, further enhancing the mysterious aura of the church. Many paranormal enthusiasts suggest that the spirits of historic figures may be lingering to protect or oversee the church. Some believe that the energy of Patrick Henry's speech, delivered within these very walls, has left a lasting imprint, a kind of residual energy that occasionally manifests to the living. Others speculate that clergy, who once presided over the church, may continue to patrol the sanctuary, ensuring that the sacredness of the space is preserved even in modern times. Visitors have occasionally experienced more direct forms of interaction. Some recount hearing footsteps echoing across the wooden floors of the sanctuary when no one else is present. Others describe objects, like hymnals or chairs, subtly moving or appearing slightly out of place after they have left a room. Though the building's age could explain some of the natural settling sounds or structural movements, the consistency and specificity of these reports over decades point to something beyond mere architectural quirks. The museum itself adds an extra layer of intrigue. Historical documents, letters, and relics on display carry the weight of past lives and stories. Some visitors claim to feel sudden emotional waves, moments of intense sadness, hope, or urgency as they handle or view certain artifacts. While skeptics might attribute these sensations to imagination or suggestion, many believe they are evidence of the lingering presence of individuals who once handled these very objects, leaving echoes of their essence behind. During evening events and special tours, when the church is quieter and shadows lengthen along the walls, the reported activity often intensifies. Guests have described the feeling of unseen eyes upon them, and some have reported catching glimpses of figures standing silently at the balcony or near the entrance. Occasionally, staff have heard the faint sounds of footsteps moving toward them, only for the sound to vanish when they turn around. Such experiences contribute to the idea that the church is not only a repository of history, but also a threshold where the past and present intersect, in ways that are tangible and mysterious. Paranormal investigators have documented these phenomena over the years, recording unusual temperature fluctuations, unexplained electromagnetic readings, and occasional audio anomalies. While interpretations vary, some attributing the occurrences to residual energy, others to intelligent spirits, the effect is the same. Visitors leave with a strong sense that St. John's Church is alive in more ways than one. Despite the eerie experiences reported, the church continues to welcome visitors from around the world. For many, the combination of historical importance and paranormal intrigue is irresistible. Walking through the wooden pews, gazing at the preserved artifacts, or standing at the pulpit where Henry once spoke, visitors often feel a profound connection to the past, amplified by the subtle but persistent presence of unseen observers. The American Civil War Center at historic Tredegar in Richmond, Virginia, occupies a site steeped in both history and spectral presence. Originally constructed as a massive munitions factory during the Civil War, Tredegar Ironworks played a critical role in supplying the Confederate Army with weapons and artillery. The sprawling complex, with its brick walls and iron frameworks, witnessed intense labor, constant danger, and countless deaths. Today, it serves as a museum dedicated to preserving Civil War history, yet beyond the educational exhibits and restored machinery, the building carries an undeniable aura of lingering spirits. Visitors to historic Tredegar have long reported unusual experiences that defy simple explanation. One of the most common phenomena described is the sudden presence of cold spots in various areas of the museum. These temperature drops often occur near former production floors, the sites of long-forgotten accidents or places where workers labored under extreme conditions. Guests describe feeling a chill that seems to surround them, accompanied by the sensation of being watched by unseen eyes. Staff members have corroborated these experiences, noting that some areas of the building consistently register inexplicably low temperatures, even on warm days. Shadowy figures are another recurring feature of Tredegar's haunted reputation. Patrons and museum employees alike report glimpses of humanoid shapes moving just beyond the corners of their vision. These apparitions often appear fleetingly, disappearing when observers attempt to focus on them. Some witnesses describe seeing soldiers in Civil War-era uniforms, As though the factory's past, laborers continue to patrol the hallways and production areas. Others report figures of civilians, perhaps family members of the workers or individuals associated with the ironworks during its operational years. These visual encounters contribute to the sense that the building is alive with echoes of the past, and that the spirits of those who suffered or died within its walls have not fully departed. Unexplained sounds are also frequently reported at Tredegar. Footsteps, metallic clanging, and distant voices often echo through the museum, particularly in areas that are otherwise empty. Some visitors describe hearing muffled conversations or the faint hiss of steam, reminiscent of the factory's operational noises from the 19th century. Security staff and guides have noted that these sounds seem to follow guests, intensifying in areas of historical significance or where tragic events are documented to have occurred. At times, doors appear to move on their own, opening or closing without any physical cause, further heightening the eerie atmosphere. Paranormal investigators have documented several unusual occurrences within Tredegar. Electromagnetic field, EMF readings spike in certain locations, and audio recordings have captured faint, unidentifiable voices and murmurs. While skeptics suggest that the age of the building, combined with its industrial architecture, could account for some of the phenomena, the consistency and specificity of the reports over decades suggest the presence of something more. Many believe that the intense human emotion, labor, and trauma experienced within the munitions factory have left a lasting imprint, creating a residual energy that manifests in perceptible ways for modern visitors. Some witnesses describe particularly personal encounters. One visitor reported feeling a sudden brush against their arm while walking along a corridor with no one else present. Another recounted hearing a distinct voice whispering a single word, "danger," in a room displaying Civil War artifacts. These experiences, while brief, leave a lasting impression and a sense that the museum's past is still very much present. The mixture of fear, curiosity, and reverence for history makes these occurrences both compelling and unsettling. The museum's exhibits themselves seem to carry an additional weight. As guests move from one display to another, they encounter letters, photographs, and tools once used by soldiers and factory workers. Many visitors report an overwhelming sense of connection, as though the objects are imbued with memories of those who lived and worked through the trials of the Civil War. Some claim that the spirits of the past may be drawn to these artifacts, manifesting in subtle ways such as flickering lights, sudden temperature changes, or whispers near the displays. The presence of these artifacts seems to act as a conduit, linking the contemporary observer with the lived experiences of people long gone. Even during daytime tours, the atmosphere at Tredegar can be heavy with tension. Guides recount instances of guests feeling uneasy for no apparent reason, their senses heightened by the weight of history surrounding them. In the evenings, when the museum is quiet and shadows stretch along the brick walls, the reported activity often intensifies. Guests have described hearing distant hammering or the rush of invisible machinery, as if the factory has momentarily come alive to replay the labor and danger of its operational days. Shadowy figures are more frequently observed in low-light areas, and cold spots become more pronounced, leaving those present with a chilling reminder of the building's tumultuous past. Paranormal enthusiasts are particularly drawn to Tredegar for this reason, combining historical interest with the hope of experiencing something otherworldly. Many approach the museum with a mixture of skepticism and anticipation, only to leave with stories of shadowy figures, unexplained sounds, and the eerie sensation of having walked among the spirits of history. Some believe that the munitions workers, soldiers, and others who suffered or died within the factory are still tied to the place, their presence lingering as a testament to both the human cost of war and the enduring power of memory. The Valentine Museum in Richmond, Virginia, stands as a testament to the city's rich history, preserving artifacts, portraits, and relics that span centuries. Visitors come to explore the stories of Richmond's past, yet beyond the carefully curated exhibits, the museum holds a reputation for something far less tangible: lingering spirits. Over the years, Staff and patrons alike have reported experiences that suggest the past has never fully left the walls of the Valentines, leaving behind echoes of those who once walked the city's streets. Many of the museum's paranormal reports focus on cold spots that appear without explanation. Guests walking through certain galleries have felt sudden chills, even on warm days, or describe the sensation of a cold draft sweeping past them when no doors or windows are open. Staff members note that these temperature drops are often accompanied by a distinct feeling of unease, as though an invisible presence is nearby. Some believe that these cold spots mark areas where emotional energy from past events has imprinted itself, leaving residual echoes that manifest physically for visitors. In addition to the cold, many visitors report hearing whispers and murmurs in areas that should be quiet. Patrons often describe hearing fragments of conversation or indistinct voices drifting from empty rooms. These sounds are sometimes localized, seeming to follow a person as they move from gallery to gallery, yet vanish entirely when others approach. Some witnesses have claimed to hear the faint calls of names long forgotten, perhaps the voices of Richmond residents whose lives were intertwined with the objects now on display. Staff have occasionally reported the same phenomenon, noting that even during after-hours work in the museum, these whispering sounds persist in certain rooms, leaving a lingering sense of mystery and tension. Shadowy figures have also been seen moving through the Valentine Museum. Guests have described seeing fleeting glimpses of people dressed in historical attire figures who vanish when one tries to focus on them. These sightings often occur near exhibits that feature portraits or personal belongings of past Richmond citizens, suggesting a connection between the objects and the apparitions. Some theorize that the spirits are drawn to the artifacts, perhaps remaining near items that hold significant emotional or historical value. The fleeting nature of these apparitions makes them difficult to study, yet their repeated appearance over decades has cemented the museum's reputation as a haunted space. Objects themselves seem to carry residual energy. Visitors report seeing small items move unexpectedly, a book sliding from a shelf, a picture frame tilting slightly, or a door creaking open on its own. While skeptics might attribute these occurrences to the age of the building or minor structural shifts, the consistency of these experiences across multiple generations of staff and visitors suggests a deeper, unexplained presence. In several cases, patrons have felt an invisible hand brush against them or sensed someone standing nearby when no one else is present. These moments, brief as they may be, leave a lasting impression in a sense that the museum's history is alive in ways beyond the physical exhibits. The museum's collections themselves seem to amplify these experiences, with portraits of past Richmond citizens, personal artifacts, and displays chronicling the city's development. The Valentine Museum is steeped in the emotions of bygone eras. Many visitors report an overwhelming sense of connection when standing before certain exhibits, as though the energy of those depicted or represented remains in the air. Some have claimed that the spirits are protective, ensuring that the history and stories preserved within the museum are respected. Others feel a more somber presence, perhaps the echo of lives lost or the weight of historical struggles. Even during daytime tours, the atmosphere can feel charged. Visitors have described an almost tangible tension in the air, a heaviness that contrasts with the museum's vibrant displays and educational programming. Evening tours, however, seem to intensify the reported phenomena. Shadows appear more pronounced in dimly lit hallways. Whispers carry further in the quiet spaces, and the sensation of being watched becomes more acute. Staff members who remain in the building after hours often report hearing footsteps in hallways, even when they are the only person present, and sometimes experience the inexplicable movement of objects or sudden temperature drops. For paranormal enthusiasts, the Valentine Museum represents a unique blend of history and lingering spirit activity. While the artifacts provide a tangible link to the past, the unexplained occurrences offer an intangible connection to those who once lived in Richmond. Guests are often drawn to the museum not just for its educational value but for the hope of experiencing a brush with the otherworldly. Accounts of cold spots, whispers, shadowy figures, and mysterious object movement all contribute to a sense that the Valentine Museum is a place where the past and present coexist, sometimes in eerie, unsettling ways. The stories surrounding the Valentine Museum suggest that history is not confined to text or display cases. The spirits said to linger within its walls are reminders that the people of Richmond left more than a physical legacy. They left echoes of emotion, memory, and presence. Whether protective, sorrowful, or simply residual, these spirits continue to interact with the living, creating a museum experience that is as haunting as it is educational. Virginia's haunted museums offer more than history lessons. They provide a glimpse into the lives, tragedies, and lingering energies of the past. From shadowy figures to unexplained sounds, these museums remind us that the past is never truly gone, and some stories are still waiting to be told. Exploring these haunted museums can be thrilling, eerie, and thought-provoking. The next time you visit a historic site or museum in Virginia, pay attention to the cold spots, whispers, and shadows. They might just be the echoes of history reaching out across time. Thank you for joining us on this chilling tour through Virginia's haunted museums. If you enjoyed this journey into the paranormal, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more haunted tales. Until next time, keep your lights on and your senses sharp. The spirits of Virginia's past may be closer than you think.